Hello, everyone. Welcome into Debate Night. I'm Hunter, joined as always by Brody. Silas back behind the board.
We back.
Mixing stuff up. DJ Sci Guy. I like
Whoa.
that. That's Silas's new thing.
Whoa.
Even though you're not a DJ, you're just mixing our audio.
I-
But I'm going. You're a DJ now.
Is this new?
What?
I just now realized
The
this.
wall?
Well, it's open now. Is that new or has it been open for a while?
What are you talking about?
Like the curtain's not.
Oh
there
no, the
anymore.
curtain hasn't been there.
Has that been a
Oh,
while?
you haven't been here in a while.
Yeah, maybe it's
Maybe it's the first.
maybe it's the first time.
Maybe for debate night. Maybe banter. I was here when the curtain was. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Things are changing, moving. The store looks nice.
Yeah, it's getting
Store
getting
looks
close,
real good.
closer and closer. If you've picked up a local order, you might have peeked in and saw there's some discs on the wall now.
Yeah, that's gonna be a real treat for some people.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it'll be nice too if people want to come by, make the drive in, check out the store. Hopefully, it's kind of like
Hopefully
a
it'll
little
also
disc
allow
golf
us-
stop.
Yeah, to hopefully also allow us to have some like signings and stuff when pros are in town, and I don't know, just free us up for a little more stuff. And also, we're about to build out the Debate Night studio here shortly. That'll be where I'm streaming live from when you're on the road.
That will
and then when
literally
you're
probably
back.
be done next time I'm back. 'Cause
Should be.
I'm gone for a long trip.
Yeah, because this is the
This is the long stretch.
Yeah.
It's like 6 weeks in a row or something.
so surely it'll be done by then. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think we've got a rough idea for it right now, and it's just kind of time to paint the wall and execute and get all the stuff we need purchase and all that. So that's exciting times because then
Yeah.
we won't have 3-4 podcasts, however many in this exact same studio with just a different colored light behind us, which that might have been confusing people. This is the same studio.
Wait, I thought you made those.
This
purple.
light just changes.
Why are those
I
white?
changed them back to white.
Oh, okay.
Silas liked them white. I know
All right.
people get confused. This is the same studio. This light just changes colors. It might. I know that probably.
No.
That's probably people probably go crazy like what?
How many studios do these guys have?
Yeah, and I'm sorry to spoil this magic for
Banter
you. Those are
too.
just-
They're like, oh my gosh.
They're just LEDs. Silas, you know what? Go ahead and show them.
Yeah. Give you a little taste.
Now it's the
Boom.
banter.
Now
There
it's
we
the
go.
band. Now we're in grip locked actually.
Now it's
we're
grip
in-
locked, that's
Now we're
right.
in mailbag.
Now we're in the Heiser Club I'm repping the
Heiser
merch.
Club.
Heiser Club mailbag. But
Hey,
no,
shout out
this is
to-
debate night.
Whoa, now we're back.
Shout out to all the new Patreons for March. Whoop,
Yeah.
whoop. New month. Let's go.
Yeah, super exciting stuff. But this past weekend we had some disc golf. Las
Gosh,
Vegas
it's
Challenge
back.
happened.
It's back.
Let's hear it, Brody. You were on the grounds. Break down your tournament.
Well, the first thing I'll say is, did you see the numbers have come in about how many people watched live?
no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, so
Where is it posted? Ulti-World?
I want to say a tweet. It might have been Ultiworld might have tweeted out. I'm not sure.
The
See
Pro
if
Tour
you
might
see
have
me pull
tweeted
it out. May have
I have not been on
Tour.
my phone very much today.
But this was the most watched live event behind Worlds for MPO,
Wow.
and I believe the most watched live event ever for FPO.
That's amazing.
I believe.
It wasn't surprising because I tuned into FPO. I forget what day it was. I was watching on the Disc Golf Network, but one of the days I tuned in on YouTube. It might have been the first day when the Disc Golf Network went down. And there was like 12,000 or some people watching concurrently live for FPO. And I couldn't remember numbers from last year, but I looked at it and I was like, that seems like a lot. But I kind of let it be because I didn't know.
I hope that this might, because now that I think about it, the reason why this might be there is because I believe if you're a PDGA member,
You got it for free.
You got it for free. And then also the first day, they had that debacle where Disc Golf Network wasn't working, so they were doing it free on YouTube as well. So
Yeah.
they had a bunch of PDGA members free on
Wow,
Thursday.
so the broadcast, the final round for FPO was the biggest.
Oh, okay. So that's cool to see. But I'm hoping maybe they take note and see like, interesting. Maybe if we do show live for free, or even if it's like we show it for 6 holes or something like that early on, get people invested early in the tournament, and then those people might keep coming back and reoccur.
Yeah.
Versus the people that, maybe don't want to pay for this Golf Network and then they just tune in when it's free on Sunday. If you can get them maybe invested early, they're more likely to probably want to tune in the next couple days.
Yeah.
I don't know.
These are the numbers. So the peak concurrent viewership numbers. It was on Twitter by the media director for the Pro Tour, but then Ultiworld picked it up as well.
Okay.
So the FPO broadcast on the final round peaked at 17,453 concurrent viewers, with
Heck yeah.
2/3 of the audience on YouTube and 1/3 on Disc Golf Network. The previous most watched FPO round was Worlds 2021, which had 16,600.
Incredible.
So, because you would think that Champions Cup and Worlds are going to top Las Vegas Challenge
Gonna be
viewership
massive.
wise.
Yeah, give me
so
way
it should be
more
even
massive.
and bigger. And then the Las Vegas Challenge final round MPO had 31,268 peak concurrent, which is the second highest number behind last year World, which was obviously the dramatic James Conrad thing.
This is also peak concurrent. So for those that
Peak
don't know what that
concurrent, yeah.
means that is the highest number of people watching at one time.
one
So
time.
for example, where are we at right now, Silas, for debate night?
Peak concurrence. We
Yeah.
are at 265.
Okay, so
I mean,
heck yeah.
we're almost there.
But like when this show ends, we might have 15 or 2,000, something like that, and that's just how many people kind of tuned in,
Tuned in
tuned
and
out, tuned in.
So you'd imagine
So,
that
I mean,
maybe 100,000 people.
Could be very well
In and out.
easily in and out, which is
Yeah.
awesome to see people trying.
This is pretty interesting because
live disc golf
five
out.
years ago, live viewership numbers, the biggest disc golf tournaments were peaked around 6,000 concurrent MPO and 2,000 FPO.
Wow,
So, I mean, that's just the growth of live disc golf since then.
that's crazy.
And then, yeah, he was backing up. He said this is again, Mahmoud, for the Pro Tour's media director. He said there's only benefits to doing split broadcasts. I mean, that's just music to my ears. I
Yeah.
love that.
So that was awesome to see. Now, obviously, I mean, we can get into a little bit. I'm sure if you guys have questions for me and stuff being on the grounds, we can get into it a little bit. But the other thing I wanted to say, obviously, I just wanted to mention that because that was cool.
Yeah, I didn't see that, so that's a great point.
It didn't seem like there were that many people actually on the grounds watching, but I'm not surprised. It's Vegas. I don't know how many people are still kind of traveling right now. And then also ticket sales were fairly expensive if I heard correctly. And you also have a huge event going on at the same time.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who would have been spectators playing in the event instead.
Yeah. So
And the ticket sales are interesting because I would imagine it's similar to Waco in that the like day passes might have been somewhat cheap, but the VIP, if you want like full access like you're used to in the past, it's more expensive than I would have expected or thought. But I thought we looked at it a little bit ago.
I didn't look.
I think we
I
weren't
just saw
like
the VIP
being super
passes.
critical, thinking, yeah,
Yeah. I just think they probably thought there were going to be more because like at the Disc Golf Network or the Disc Golf Pro Tour, obviously they do want a lot of people at their events, but their main focus, I think, also is putting on a good live coverage because they know a lot more people are going to be tuning in live than actually at the event itself.
yes.
Whereas I believe the tournament, like Innova and the Las Vegas Challenge, everyone behind that, their main focus is like the actual on the ground stuff. And so I'm sure they were probably a little disappointed with the turnout.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I mean, it was really cool to kind of see where the Disc Golf Pro Tour is headed because they're starting to do a lot of things and starting to move tournaments in the right direction to where if you were just a random person off the street, didn't know anything about disc golf, and someone took you to the event, you would think like, oh, this is like legit.
Yeah.
Versus like, oh, you guys are just like
in the
playing
past, it was
in a
like,
park.
oh, we're just in a park watching
This-
people throw frisbees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I was trying to find I
There's
don't want
no
to misquote the guy. I don't want to misquote the guy, but someone had DM'd me experience that either him or his father had at Las Vegas Challenge with those. It was a very negative experience.
Ooh.
But
I wonder what it was about.
gosh, I saw the DM come across and I immediately said,
Was it
I want to ask
parking?
Brody about the, yeah, it was between parking and the shuttle. It was something with like the shuttle wasn't running and
Parking's
something
a
along
big
those lines.
issue there because they don't have. Again, they're moving in the right direction. So last year, parking was a disaster for everyone, especially like players. Like I know that I want to say I got there 30 minutes earlier than I normally would because you didn't know where you were parking. You might find a spot kind of near, get lucky with one of the AMs that are leaving or one of the pros that are leaving, whoever, and you kind of sneak in that spot, or you might park 500 yards down the street and it's a long kind of drive up into get to the clubhouse and the course. This year, again, the tour card situation that's happening has been very, very successful so far. Minor thing I would say is I wish they gave us like a little like a sticker or something, because they gave everyone basically parking passes that were players, but there was nothing to differentiate a player that is like an amateur player in the tournament and a player that's a pro, or a player that's a pro and a player that's a pro that has a tour card. Mm-hmm. So you kind of had to go through multiple levels of like telling them who their name is and finding on the list and kind of do that. That would be so much faster if you just had like gave all the tour card guys a sticker that says tour card and you fly in, whatever. But parking was not a problem for us, which was phenomenal. Like literally drive in, park, 2-minute walk.
Is that one of the benefits of the tour card?
Correct. Parking.
Okay, so that's something that the Pro Tour came in and it's like, we need this many spots.
And it's really, really good too, because another thing, again, I love the fans. I love interacting with them. Not a big fan though of doing it as soon as I get out.
When you're like trying to get mentally prepared for a round.
Or when my round is over and I'm like decompressing, maybe I'm calling Kelsey and I'm like at my car. Again, kind of just one of those things of where it's like you kind of just want to be by yourself and be in your own space. And it's just awkward when someone kind of comes up to you and be like, hey, do you have any discs for sale? And you're just, that was kind of eliminated by, again, having these different areas. Nice. So I'm curious what they're doing. The parking is not great. It was
something about like they had to park at like a
really
church or
away.
Something,
mm-hmm.
and there was a shuttle running, and the shuttle had stopped running.
The church is actually my buddy that I was staying with, his brother and everyone goes to this church. So I actually know it wasn't incredibly close, I would say, to it. Probably, if I had to guess, like 10, 15 minutes, 10 minutes shuttle. And like, again, it's one of those things of where if you're used to one thing, which is just showing up and parking wherever's closest and walking, and that's what you're used to, as soon as they're like, hey, you're not going to be able to do that this year, you're going to have to park here and blah, blah, blah. If things don't go beautifully, people are going to complain.
Yes.
But,
it's better.
It's growing pains.
Yeah.
It's growing pains.
It's better to have the players be the main focus of like getting the players close to the course versus if all spectators you have 500 spectators and they all take up the close parking, getting there super early, and then you have...
It's really weird when a player's just like walking down the sidewalk.
You have Drew Gibson on lead card pulling in, and he's like, I can't park. He has to park, get on a 10-minute shuttle with all the spectators. It's like, oh, how's it going, guys? Head to my lead card. Like... That's something where like that's a good step for professionalism, and then we still need to kind of figure out some of the logistical things. But it's
just
also,
that course. Unfortunately, that course is not a good course for parking.
And there's gonna be some courses like that. It's also the nature of the sport is like we're at times still going to be in parks or in woods and stuff like that, where parking's not going to be the easiest thing. So there might be some workarounds, and if it's not a big enough thing, because if you have a massive thing where there's 10,000 spectators, it's gonna be a lot easier to figure out a bus route and stuff like that. And there might be buses that volunteer because they want the advertising or whatever may happen. When there's a few hundred people and it's
much difficult.
You're running a bus you're running a bus that might only have 5 people on it at a time, and then 2 bus loads a day is full. It's a lot weirder. But no, that's pretty cool. I didn't realize. I think I'd heard that parking was like a benefit of the tour card, but I guess it's also nice too, because like imagine leaving any major sporting event and you see like LeBron just lost in a playoff game and you walk to the parking lot and you're parked right next to him.
Yeah.
Like that just, it doesn't make sense, because like if a player has an awful tournament, it shouldn't look bad on the player if they want to go be in their own space. But if they have to cross through so many spectators to get to their own space, they can come across as a jerk if they walk through and they have to basically forcibly like, look, and put their head down, not talk to people. People are like, oh, so-and-so, and they're just not looking at them. That can come across as the player being like, oh, a jerk or a douche or whatever, and pushing people off. When really they just played awful and they want to go decompress. Now it's like you would have to go seek the fans of like, the fans are all here. You can go meet up with them.
Yes,
and talk
and no.
to them.
I mean, again,
at your car at least.
At my car, yeah. That's where it's a little bit different, of where it is nice. This setup too was kind of weird, because it's like there wasn't a separation between the parking lot and the course itself. So you were like, once you left the parking lot, you then were basically with everyone, and you kind of had to walk to get to behind the gates or whatever it may be. Other things I wanted to add, though, that I thought was awesome, they made everyone at the end of their round actually go up. Granted, it was a little bit of a walk, but go up into the clubhouse and like officially put their scores in with people there. So that I think was cool because there's always this weird, like, when the round ends, like, what are we doing? Are we still hanging around the basket while other people are trying to finish, trying to finalize scores? Or like at some of these parks and stuff where there weren't fences, there weren't any like spectator barriers or anything, you would like walk off to try to do scores, but then you'd also have fans coming up to photos, and it was like an awkward situation. So this, I think, and this is going to be something that the Pro Tour will continue to do at each event. You finish 18, you walk to scoring, you verify your scores, you put scoring in, and then people from the Disc Golf Network are there to where they could pull you. So like my first round, for example, they wanted to get an interview for me.
Yeah.
So in the past, it would be very difficult for them because
They'd
the
go
round
chase you
would
down.
end and I would just go, like, there isn't any spot. We would just go. And also they were doing interviews and stuff just like wherever, right? Here they actually they had a spot, they had a microphone, they had people set up, everything like that was ready to go. So you do your scoring, they're like, oh, hey, let's grab him for a second. And then you just walk over and do your
It also,
interview.
I noticed, I don't know who the new interview guy was.
PDJ guy.
He wasn't.
He was pretty good.
I'll say I really liked the questions.
He was pretty professional.
Yeah, first off, his voice sounded good, which is always just like a side note of like you want someone who you're listening to not to have a bad voice for it. Complete side note. But the questions he was asking and stuff like that, I found very interesting. And also it seemed like this is something that disc golf and other places too, other sports and stuff can at times be guilty of like almost asking like reactionary questions and not having like a goal of like knowing storylines to get and be like, hey, I noticed this. Why did this happen? He seemed very like, if there was a storyline, he knew about it and was asking players as they came in of like, hey, I noticed you did this on this hole. Why don't you walk us through that moment?
Yeah.
Or stuff like that, which I was like, oh, that was great. Because sometimes on live, that might have been some stuff that we missed, or we saw them throw the shot, but we didn't see what happened after, blah, blah, blah. And he was able to get kind of more storylines and more context. And they also were playing like your interview clip. They cut to it. You're there. We see you talking for like 5-10 seconds, and then it just goes back to footage. And you're talking while we're watching people throw and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you were done, it went back to the booth. And
Did they ever throw it like into like a bottom third?
we
ever
didn't
do
see many
that,
bottom.
of where, like,
The
it
only
went to, like, a mini
picture in
square?
picture. The only picture in picture we saw was there'd be a commercial playing. The coverage was in picture, and there's a scorecard here. So it's like three. So commercials were
Yep.
being played, but like it was while people were like tapping out putts or
Okay.
something like that. But then it was also a good thing of like as soon as the interview was over, Ian would walk through like, and the shot you just saw was Calvin Heimberg getting up and down. You know, now here we are live on the green with his
You're
look for
back
birdie.
into it. It's
You're
not-
right back into it.
It's not a weird transition.
The
That's
flow
awesome.
of it was great.
Yeah.
It was much better than like this awkward cut to you and then a cut back, and we're trying to just figure out, okay, what did we just miss? You didn't
Yeah.
miss anything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch live all that much. I watched a little bit in the morning with the FPO, but yeah, I didn't really get to see what they did differently or not. But yeah, overall, as far as like, you know, we can start talking about the play a little bit now. But I just wanted to like throw that out there as the event is being a player. It's really nice to see that like the Pro Tour is continuing to try to. Because they're at a position right now, if they really wanted to, they could just kind of be like, well, we're the main dogs and we're just going to stay with what we're doing. But they're continuing to try to do things to bring professionalism and to continue to kind of push the envelope for the players, for the spectators, for everyone. So that was awesome to see first event.
Nice. So walk us through kind of, I guess, your first event of the year.
Yeah.
Because we went through the whole tournament recap. What the heck? Oh my gosh.
Sounds like
We
it
went
was
through the whole
terrible.
tournament recap on Grip Locked of like the winners and all of that. So we don't need to get
Which
into
is
results.
awesome that you guys are doing that on Monday now.
Yes.
It's
much
probably
better.
way easier
Oh, way
too
easier, 'cause
for
all
you guys
fresh.
right off the top of your head. Yeah.
But we didn't walk through what your tournament
Sure.
happened. So walk us through it.
So the first thing I'll say is like this off season clearly was not the greatest off season I could have had as far as practice goes. The weather was not the most inviting, I would say here. So going into this tournament, it was kind of weird that I felt more unprepared than last year, but I felt like my skills were better.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, yeah, it makes perfect sense.
So getting down there and throwing these practice rounds, it was one of those things of where I remember when I played last year, I remember specifically picking holes and saying, okay, this hole I can actually birdie.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to try to throw this shot to birdie. And I would be like, this hole, I might be able to birdie it, but
it's smarter not to.
Let me just throw a safe shot, lay up, make par. There was a lot of holes like that. Out of the 54, a lot of holes like that in 2021. This year, there wasn't a single hole that I couldn't birdie, which is a very nice thing to kind of see the growth and the change of like shot shaping ability and also just power, distance. So going through my practice rounds, I was feeling really good. And again, this year, I'm playing tournaments. Last year, it's a little bit different. I kind of switched to this later in the season, but this year I'm playing tournaments to try to win. I'm not playing tournaments to try to make cash. I'm not playing tournaments to try to increase my rating. I'm not doing any of that. I'm literally playing tournaments to be like, I'm going to do what I need to do to put myself in a position to win. So that's either going to make me have very high finishes sometimes or potentially lower finishes until like that consistency kind of levels itself out. So first round goes off. We played infinite. I mean, every course, you know that double digits is on the table. And the first couple holes on that course are like muskets. Hole 1, hole 2, hole 3, hole 4. I mean, it just goes down the line, muskets. The first par 4 comes up on the front 9, and it was the par 4 that used to be a gettable eagle. But they moved the tees back. And I'll also say that too. All the changes that they did, different tee locations and different, they changed par, I think, on maybe 1 or 2 holes without changing the tee or the basket. And then they did change a lot of basket placements and tee positions, made the course a lot harder. And I thought it was way more enjoyable. I wish they continue to do that because there are a lot of holes out there that are still kind of meh. So that was cool to see kind of like they definitely saw feedback or thought about things to make the course more difficult. So the first par 4, though, still extremely scoreable. It's like a 600 and less than 700 foot or maybe just over 700 foot par 4. You know, throw 500 feet, hyzer out there, and then have an easy upshot, birdie, move on to the next. I threw a terrible shot over, had a terrible upshot, circle 2 putt, miss, par. Continue to birdie out. At this point, I've birdied everything except for that hole. Continue to birdie, get to the next par 4. Same situation. You know, throw a 500-foot shot out, throw an upshot, birdie, move on is what you're supposed to be doing. I clip is one of the like low ceiling kind of par 4s. I clipped the very bottom limb and shot over 2 in the woods, had no upshot. So I par that. Continue to birdie though. So like at a certain point, I could have easily, I want to say like could have been 9 or 10 under, like 10 birdies in a row. Because those 2 holes, like in practice, I'm probably through like 6 drives probably throughout practice on those holes. And I want to say like probably birdied at 90% of the time. So that was a little bit frustrating. Continue to play really, really well. 17, 18, those 2 holes. 17's an easy little drone or raptor hyzer. 18's an easy forehand, like raptor or force hyzer in. Par both those holes. And that was the first time that, again, it's interesting because I wonder if I would have done something differently had I known that all I needed to do was birdie one of those last 2 holes and I would have been on lead card. I wonder if I would have known that. Because to me, like, I don't ever look at the scores on the first round.
Yeah, you're just playing.
I'm literally, especially a course like this, literally every hole, I'm like, I don't even care what I did in the previous holes. I'm looking at every hole like this is a chance to birdie, right? Because it's no longer like, hey, I'm trying to shoot like 3 under today.
Yeah.
It's like I'm trying to birdie 18 holes. I'm trying to get 18 birdies out there. So looking back on it, I wonder. I feel like I wouldn't change anything. I just threw 2 decent shots and didn't have putts. Had like 17, I was right behind a tree with the low-hanging like seagrass or whatever it is, the willows. Didn't have a putt. And then 18, you probably saw in coverage, I just barely got into that bush on the right and had like some like lean out, lay down scuba. So that was frustrating. Like looking at that round, that was one of those rounds of where like you finish and a lot of people are like, dude, great playing today. Sick. And like normally you would be like, yeah, I shot 9 under. I had 10 birdies and a bogey. Normally you would be like, yeah, I played really, really well today. But knowing that those 2 par 4s in the front 9 are easy birdies, didn't get those. And then 17, 18 are easy birdies. I didn't get those. That was like a round where it's like, I should have probably shot 13 under. Mm-hmm. And that's just something that, again, with my growth, that's just something that I got to continue to work on, to where when you are playing well, when you are throwing well, when you are putting well, you got to capitalize on as much as possible. Yeah. And that was just one of those rounds that I didn't capitalize on. Move on to the second round. Innova, start off with a triple bogey. Went straight ultimate frisbee forehand OB, and then missed a 15-footer off the band, rolled down that hill 150 feet, upshot, triple bogey, moving on. I'll say with that round, though, there's a lot of people that would allow that triple bogey, and even myself maybe in the past would allow that triple bogey to like affect me, but I was able to somehow eliminate that and birdie the next 3 out of the next 4 holes to get back to even par, and birdie the next, eagle the next, par, birdie, whatever it was. Like in that middle kind of section of that course, played incredible. Tripled the first hole, doubled the last hole. You eliminate those 2 kind of mistakes, and I'm looking really, really good going into round 3. And the only mistake really on hole 1 is like I'm still not 100% consistent with my forehand.
You didn't like the backhand there?
I probably should have gone backhand.
I saw a lot of players going backhand. It was a little scarier because it brought that tree into play. But
this was my mindset in it, is like, if I want to win this tournament, I have to be able to execute this forehand shot. That was like my mindset of like, backhand probably eliminates the OB, probably eliminates like a really bad shot, and my worst shot's probably circle 2 down the hill. Yeah. But it's like, I know I can complete that forehand. It's really like a 400-foot hyzer forehand, something like that, 360, 400-foot hyzer forehand. I know I can complete that.
So it's hard not to try.
I did it in practice. And it's like, for me to be successful here, like on the next level, I have to be able to. I can't be trying to throw turnover backhand shots or hyzer backhand shots when the forehand is the correct throw, like the easier throw. So yeah, I mean, was it the pressure that got to me? Probably a little bit too in that second round. I didn't go through my routine like I normally do, and that's where I just went back to ultimate frisbee forehand. So that was a really frustrating round too, because it was, again, 2 holes away from being
really good.
Really good.
Yeah.
Round 3, factory store, pretty much just did the same thing. Went out, played really well, birdied a lot of holes. Again, a couple of the par 4s that are really, really easy. If you just put a drive into play, I don't know what I was doing. If it was just kind of a lack of like, you know what it was? This is what it was. And this is something that I will learn from in the future. When it's windy, you are 100% better off throwing something stable, overstable, that you know is going to react. It might not react as overstable in the headwind as you normally,
but it's going to go left.
But it's going to go left. And you might lose 50 feet, but it's going to go left. Yeah. I wasn't doing that on the par 4s. And that's where I was throwing these nukes. And I think I even messaged you guys something about that, about how nukes are, they can be very touchy, of where if you get one over into the wind, it's just gone. And I was trying to gain distance. I was trying to throw a 530-foot shot when, in fact, I could have thrown my hypercane or my force 470 and had still a 300-foot upshot in. So that was frustrating with factories. Again, I want to say I shot, what did I shoot in factory? 8, 7, 9, somewhere in like that. But definitely could have been like a double-digit situation again of where like I'm messing up on easy par fours.
Yeah, you're making correctable mistakes.
Yes,
Very easy.
picking the wrong. Like it was never
just a
like
disselection.
that day. It was never like threw a shot and I was like, oh my god, that's terrible. It was, oh no, that was the wrong disc. I was throwing the disc really well and putting too. That was the other thing. Putting circle 2, something that I did work a lot in the off season. I want to say I probably made like 8 or 9 more circle 2 putts this past weekend than I did. And that's what I thought. I thought for me to be competitive, I needed to get my circle 2 up from like around 30 or 40% circle 2. And especially when I'm throwing those 35, 40 footers, I got to be making those like half the time.
Yeah.
And I did this weekend. So that was good.
Because it takes so much pressure too off your upshot. If you know like your circle's no longer 20 feet and in, I've got a great chance of making it, or even 30 feet and in. Now it's like if I can get inside 40 feet, I feel very confident. And so it can change your shot selection even to where you're like, oh, well, I know I can go backhand hyzer and get it within 40 instead of having to try this weird forehand to get it parked.
Yeah. And then Innova, final day, something that I'll definitely be working on where I think it's just lack of practice rounds, honestly. Not practice rounds in the sense of like actually being out at the course and practicing. Just I didn't really practice disc golf rounds this much this off season.
Yeah.
We went out and played a couple videos and did stuff like that in weird conditions, but it wasn't like I had tons of rounds under my belt. So there are still some of these things that I need to get ironed out in the what I would call early season. So that was a perfect example. Hole 1 on Innova Sunday, I missed another 15-footer, this time low into the cage, and it rolled down the hill and then upshot. So like that hole alone, a hole that I probably should birdie. If I'm playing it twice, I probably should birdie half the time, right? Get 1 birdie, probably 1 par, shoot 1 under. I was 5 over. So I lost basically, in my mind, 6 shots on that 1 hole. Now, I did let that double kind of get in my way a little bit, I feel like. Because when I think I was like tied for 14th at this point going into Sunday. And I knew if I just go out and have a decent round, not even incredible, just like shoot 7, 8, something like that, decent, I'll put myself definitely in the top 20 and potentially a top 10 situation. So going into that, that's what I needed though. I need more of that. I need more times because my really good finish in Portland, I was out of it. I was like, it was the exact opposite almost. I was like tied for 30th or 35th.
So the round didn't really have any pressure.
And then I went to Sunday and shot lights out and jumped all the way up to 14th or 18th or whatever I finished. I can't remember. This time, like I was tied for 3rd after round 1, potentially almost in 2nd. And then after round 3, I'm like in a top 15 situation. So I haven't had that many of those opportunities. Goat Hill's another perfect example. Tied with Ricky after the first round, and then I kind of just petered off and didn't do that well. So I'm taking it on the chest on this one because I didn't do what I set out to do, and I hate not being able to perform in pressure situations. I feel like I strive in being able to go out there and perform when it's the most difficult to, and I didn't this past week, so that sucks. But there's clearly things that I definitely need to work on. So there's a lot of positives I'm taking away from it, but there's also a lot of negatives, and I'm trying to figure out how to eliminate those negatives and turn them into positives. So I'm taking a lot away from this tournament, and I'm looking forward to Waco, in a week and a half from now. But yeah, it was one of those things where it's like it could have been. I put myself in a position to have a really, really good finish, and I just didn't capitalize on it. And I mean, you guys watching, you all know the field is not.
That's what I was gonna ask about. Like, the
field is not what it used to be.
Could you feel like when you were out there, like this year, you finished worse than last year, I believe, position wise? Do you feel like you played way better?
Yeah.
And then you just finished like, I think you finished 38th this year.
Yeah, 37.
I think you finished 25th last year. So basically 13 spots lower. Yeah. Like, was that something that was very noticeable on the course? Like, everyone's just next level type thing?
Yeah, especially a course like that where if you do have like an off day, I mean, you look at Drew, for example. Drew had one off day and then literally lights out 3 rounds in a row and tied for the lead.
Yeah.
Right? You have one off day out there. There was guys that had some really good players that had some off days, and if they weren't able to have 2 really, really good rounds, they didn't make the cut.
Yeah.
Like, you could have 1 really good round and then 2 rounds, you didn't make the cut. That was not the case.
Well, like Kayla Visca's cash streak ended for the first 13-year-long cash streak. That tells you enough right there.
That was not the case last year. Definitely not the case 2 years ago. Like in Waco, 2 years ago when I was on tour, I only played a handful of events. I mean, there was no reason for me to be out there as far as like where my skill level was. No, I mean, I'm throwing Nuke SS, which is my roller disc now. That was my go-to driver.
Your Glow Nuke SS.
Yeah, that was my go-to driver back then. Like, no business in being out there, and I was still like beating a lot of people. And it's just because the bottom of the field, like, and even last year, like you would look at a field last year and be like, okay, there's 120 people in it, but I'm really only competing against like 40 guys, 50 guys. These other 60, 70 people, maybe a couple of them pop off and are bounce up here, but most of them are just showing up to have a fun time.
Yeah.
That number is getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Well, also the number of, like, you look at a field a few years ago and you're realistically like 5 guys here could win. Mm-hmm. But then like last year you're looking at a field and you're like, there's 10 guys here that could win. Mm-hmm. Last year might even more. This year, going into this weekend, like if I would have went down a list before the tournament and you asked me people who I thought legitimately had a shot, I probably would have put a check next to like 20, 25 people of like these guys. One of these guys could legitimately win. And that's what you saw Eagle finish, which I know he has like the forehand shoulder injury thing, but he finished, I believe, outside the top 15, possibly even the top 20. Ricky was in like 7th. Calvin came in 3rd. Dickerson was in like 12th. And a lot of those guys were in the lead or close to the lead at one point. And you have Ganon Burr and Drew Gibson be the 2 that are in the playoff, which is like a few years ago, you rewind that back and you're like, how on earth are those guys, the people?
I think Tristan Tanner, for example, he's a really, really good person to look at because he's someone that isn't on a lot of fans' radars, spectators, viewers. He's not really on someone's radar, but he's someone that has all the natural ability. He can throw far backhand, forehand. He spent clearly a lot of time this offseason working on his putting because that was one thing that was kind of holding him back a little bit. But he's going to be a really good kind of like, if he's able to go out there and put together these rounds, there are a lot of other people that have what he has. And that's the ability and the skill level. And if their putting is on, the only thing he doesn't have is like experience. Like he's not been in these many, I think the last time he was in this spot was like 2 years ago at Las Vegas Challenge, I want to say. But he's a perfect example of like, there are tons of guys on tour that could do what he did this week. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that was really like, or a better way of saying it is like these guys existed in the past, but when they would pop off, Ricky, Calvin, Eagle were still above. Yeah. Where these guys a lot of people have been putting in a lot of work. And again, this was something I said, when you start seeing these checks get written to other people around you, and they're like, wait, that guy's getting paid how much? That person's getting paid how much? It's a lot easier waking up if you're waking up in a van or you're waking up on your buddy's couch or whatever it is. It's a lot easier to wake up in the morning and get to work because you now can see something at the end.
You can see the light at the end of the tunnel, yeah.
You can see that like, hey, that's not that far off if I actually just committed myself. And, I mean, I've heard countless stories of guys that have been local pros for a long time and, have other jobs and they just go out and win the local scenes and do leagues and all that stuff. They've all of a sudden like committed to disc golf. And so now they're putting in 4 or 5 hours, every other day or whatever it may be their training regimen is. But you're starting to see more and more people like that because, again, the reason why I was able to surpass so many people early on in year 1 and in year 2 was simply I was just working more. I was practicing more. I was training more. Now you're starting to see, once everyone starts doing that, you're really going to start seeing like, okay, that is now like the baseline. No longer can you just say, well, I'm just going to train harder than everyone else and I'm going to beat people. It's like, no, that is everyone's doing the same work now. And I think that's where you'll start seeing tournaments. I'm hoping you'll start seeing tournaments like this where you're going into the final round and you've got names you haven't heard of in a while on the leaderboard, and anyone can win.
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping. I feel like every year Las Vegas Challenge happens and I get different like expectations for the season that are almost always not true. Of like player has like a breakout tournament. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so-and-so's year. Because Las Vegas Challenge is a very interesting tournament because it's something that we won't see again for many months.
There's not many blow-up holes.
Yeah, there's not. It doesn't have great scoring separation, and it's a wide open course.
Yeah, people that are aggressive, can throw far and putt well, are going to score well consistently at Las Vegas. Where when we get to Waco, you're going to see people that if you spray the disc every so often, that you spraying the disc off the fairway is going to cost you 2 strokes.
Yeah, that's what Trevor
Where
and
Vegas, you spray a disc, it costs you a birdie.
Yeah, Trevor and I decided, or what we said on Grip Lock was essentially if you take Vegas and Waco and average them, that's probably a better prediction of what we're about to see this season.
Yeah.
Because like if Waco comes out and there is 5 to 8 guys going into the final round that could win, we're in for probably the most exciting disc golf season we're going to see. Because Waco has that scoring separation. So if there's 2 rounds out there and going to the final round, there's still a big mix of people who are like all within a few strokes and could win.
It's going to be tougher with 3 rounds. 4 rounds definitely help kind of jumble things together because it allows people to have a bad round to have 3 good rounds and get back into the mix. Because it is, I mean, I don't know. Did anyone play insane all 4 rounds?
I don't think so. Because Drew had a bad first round.
Calvin had a bad round.
Calvin had a bad round in his 3rd round.
What about Ganon? Was he consistently kind of just right around
Ganon might have had one like boring round, but he didn't. I don't think he had any like. It's also tougher with a player like Ganon because like you aren't like Calvin. You're expecting a great round every round. So when he has a quote unquote bad round, it feels bad. But let me look at Ganon real quick.
Eagle, his final round wasn't great. Yeah, but so that's the only thing is to keep that into account. Like 3 rounds can kind of, you look at Colt Montgomery winning, when he just had one incredible round.
Yeah, Ganon just played consistent. His worst round was a 52 in round 2. He went 47, 52, 51, 51.
Well, the pars are a little bit different for each one. So
yeah, but I mean,
a little bit of change.
Because like Drew's first round was a 52, then went 48, 53, 48. Calvin's 3rd round was a 57. So like,
yeah,
Ganon didn't have one of the like, oh wow, it's a bad round.
He didn't have a crazy roller coaster.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I think. It definitely has potential. It's going to be one of those too. It's exciting now because there is like, you see what Vegas happens. There is now that potential at every tournament where someone can just get hot.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily someone in the top 5 in the world. And that's, I think, what makes what's going to make disc golf live disc golf so enjoyable to watch. Is when you're like tons of people have a chance of winning.
Well, versus
going into a tournament being like, all right, guys, our top 3 is going to be Ricky, Paul, and Eagle. What do you got? And you're like, I got Calvin, Eagle, and Paul. And you're like, and you're literally just picking the same 3 or 4 people. It's going to be exciting if we can get more people in the mix.
Yeah.
And I think we saw the fact that Ricky, Chris, Eagle, Calvin got it. Did Calvin finish 3rd?
He finished 3rd, yeah.
Okay. So only one of the top 4 ranked people there finished in the top 5.
Yeah, and that was also something that was exciting watching live coverage. And again, it's hard to know if this is this event because there's not a lot of scoring separation. Yeah. But for this event with 3 cards having guys in it in the final round, we were able to watch Calvin Heimberg and Kevin Jones storming up because they both had the lead at one point through more holes. So they were both storming up. So we were able to watch that. And then also be watching Ganon's card and also watch Rick here and there.
See all sorts of excitement.
And bouncing around to where, like, if Calvin would have done something incredible and won, that's something that in the, like, off 3rd card, that's something that in the past, if you were like 5 years ago, right? There's A, probably only lead cards covered. B, only 6,000 people are watching live. If someone off chase card won, I vividly remember tournaments where I would watch the whole tournament. It's over, and then the last like pop-up graphic would be like, so-and-so came from chase card and won. Like that happened before, because it's not that crazy in disc golf of like someone.
It's not as crazy anymore either.
No, and that would be like
this tournament. It's more unlikely just because, again, the scoring separation.
Correct,
like
yeah.
the fact of if you are one of the top 4 guys, one of those people are going to have a good round and they're probably going to win.
Yeah.
Waco will be a great one because the finishing stretch there, 15, 16, both eagleable holes. Well, I think they actually changed 15 to a par 3 now. But you know what I'm saying. 15 is one of those holes
They're all
where
scoreable.
Some people either go for it and try to get a 2. Other people try to play safe for a 3, which sometimes can be a 4. 16 is an eagleable hole with potential of going OB. 17, anything can happen on the tee shot and the second shot. And then 18,
people go for the green.
People go for the green for the 2. Some people lay up. That layup across approach is not easy as well.
And you also have that whole wooded section in the middle.
And that whole wood section, who knows
if
what
you're
can
off,
happen.
yeah.
So like that course is going to be exciting to see, where if someone is 5 shots back on chase card, they're not out of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is I hope that case exists, because I'll be sad as a disc golf fan if the end of Waco it's Paul 1, Ricky 2, Eagle's not going to be there. So it's like Paul, Ricky, Calvin are like 1, 2, 3, and then the rest of the field is like kind of in it. I'm going to be sad as a disc golf fan.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be a fun tournament to watch. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited for Waco.
I still think,
But
those players are still.
They're going to be towards the top. Absolutely.
Yeah, those guys
I'm
are
saying
still.
if,
There's a reason why they're ranked so high.
If they're the only ones that have a shot at winning, I guess is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. I'll be sad.
I mean,
as a disc golf fan.
There's just going to be tournaments like that.
Well, yeah,
There
absolutely.
has to
and there's
be.
going to be tournaments where Paul or Eagle show up and they win by 10 strokes.
Yep.
That's not going to just go away magically.
No.
But I'm more excited about the idea that now Paul or Ricky or whoever's having the hot tournament that weekend isn't battling 2 guys, but they're battling 10.
I think that makes a huge difference. I think from a mentality standpoint, when you're just going up against one person, you're like, I just need to beat you.
Yeah.
Versus like, there are 7 hungry people behind me. That I think mentality wise, it's different. It's different. And also now, like after this first round or first tournament, you better believe everyone's thinking about there's no cut at Waco, but there is a cash line.
Yeah.
You better believe now, like people are like, wait a second, like I can't just show up and cash. Like,
yeah. Well, what would have been,
because that's what you used to be able to do.
What would have been crazy is we almost saw, if Sexton hadn't birdied his last 4 holes on round 3, we almost saw 2.
And those are hard birdies, by the way.
Yeah. We almost saw 2 13+ year cash streaks come to an end of that tournament. It would have been Sexton and Kale LaVisca. They would have both.
I think there will be a lot of cash. I wouldn't be surprised if someone in the top 10 doesn't cash.
Yeah, but what's weird is like
Which
when Trevor
would
would talk about
crazy thing a couple years ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is when Trevor would talk about golf, like last year, for instance, it was I couldn't wrap my mind around how like a John Rahm or Dustin Johnson or something could show up to a tournament and end in like 40th place.
Yep.
Or maybe even miss the cut line or something. And Trevor talk about it like it was just another thing. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like that's the number 1 ranked player in the world. Because I came into golf as a disc golfer. And so I'm looking at it through a disc golf lens where like Paul McBeth isn't missing a cut line. Ricky Wysocki is not showing up to a tournament and not cashing. Or Eagle's not showing up and finishing outside the top 30. But like as the sport gets more and more hungry talent and more players who, when they go off in a round, are able to play at that top level. Because before, a player going off, their top level was a lot of times like Paul and Ricky and Eagle's like decent level. And then they had a whole nother gear. But when other players are able to meet that gear or at least get close to that gear, then it's like, yeah, it's not unrealistic to think that if you show up as Ricky and have 2 bad rounds, you might find yourself in 25th, 28th place or something.
It's another thing too of where like if me and you went out to that course, any of the Las Vegas courses, you would have to play unbelievable and I would have to play really bad for you to have any chance of beating me. And that's because there are just so many holes on that course that you cannot birdie.
Yeah.
No matter how well you throw the distance, you just cannot birdie them. And so I think you're starting to see that more of where Paul, Ricky, Eagle, Calvin, all these guys, they're going to every tournament and every single hole they can birdie. So they're having 18 chances to birdie, and they're competing against a lot of people that can only birdie 15 or 14 holes. They already have an advantage for being the skill that they are, but they also have this another advantage that they're actually able to birdie 18 holes. In golf, everyone can birdie every hole. There's not a single hole on a golf course that a PGA Tour guy is showing up being like, I can't birdie this hole.
Yeah.
So I think, one, I don't think the courses are getting easier to where everyone can birdie. It's just more people are finally meeting the threshold, because there were guys on tour that couldn't throw 400 feet. Or for them to throw 450 feet would require a crazy S-line, flex line shot. Those players are kind of going away. They're not existing as much. There are so many more players that are just showing up. Throwing 500 feet is long, but there are a lot more people that are doing it now this year than they were last year. And there will be more people throwing 500 feet next year than there are this year. And so you're starting to see that gap. And then I think you'll also start seeing too, because that's more like on the easier courses. I think you'll also start seeing too, like on a course like USDGC, where Winthrop, it does punish you if you have an off day. So you will see guys just go out there and have off days and shoot terrible. And there will be so many people now in the event that will take advantage of a top guy playing terribly, and they won't, and they'll pass him. Yeah. Where in the past, it's like, even if you went out there to Winthrop and Eagle went out there to Winthrop and Eagle had his worst round, he's still probably beating you every time.
Yeah.
Where now that's not the case. There are tons of guys that are willing to jump right past.
Yeah.
It's really, really exciting, because now it means something to Cash. It means something. You went out there and you played well enough to beat out a good field. Look at the Waco field. Have you looked at that recently?
No, I'll pull it up right now.
I'm not one to look at ratings, as I think ratings are whack for a lot of reasons. But if you are a ratings person, look at how many people are rated under 1,000 at Waco.
I'll tell you in a second. I got to scroll a long way. Very long way.
Brody, were you surprised?
As of right now, 3.
There are 3 people out of 120 people?
120.
3 people out of 120. I want to say the first.
When I first got into disc golf, I think that there was maybe 200 players that were 1,000 rated or better.
I was 960 playing Waco, because we did that one hunting to beach thing, and I was 960, and I was in the mix.
Yeah. There's
Waco.
a 994, 981, and 945.
Is the 945 like the TD's?
He might have got in a sponsor. There's also 6 spots for DGPT exemption, so
gotcha.
Sponsor exemption, stuff like that.
Silas, what'd you have? What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna ask. Did you? Was there anyone that surprised you in the top of the field that was there? Was there anyone that stuck out that was like, oh,
or was there anyone
they made it up there,
or was there anyone in
the
your
opposite?
Or is there anyone in your practice rounds too?
Yeah,
that you were like, oh wow, this person must have really put in some work this offseason.
I played with Calvin practice. I didn't play with that many people practice rounds. Mm-hmm. Really. I played with Scott Stokely, Calvin, Ezra, Katrina Allen, Austin Hannum. Might have played. I might be blanking on a couple other people, but yeah, I didn't play with an incredible amount of people. But I knew. Okay, Luke Humphreys is a good one. Luke Humphreys, 4th place. Not even having that many people talk about him. 4th place, and I overheard him talking along the lines of where, he might feel like he's like the GK Pro Skins guy. Right? Like he hosts the show with all the players, and he's not a player. And I think he might have taken a little. He's a what do they call? He's a what's the word they call people? Baller? He's gamer. Gamer's what they say. He's a gamer. He's a really competitive guy.
So he would take it as like a chip on his shoulder.
He probably did, and
people are looking at me as like
he's a host.
A host.
You're a host, and it's like
it'd be like if I was trying to be competitive on the Pro Tour. I'm not by any means. If I was, that's kind of how I would feel. is if I was like doing grip locked and doing the foundation videos, and like that's the only way I was known. But my goal was to be a professional disc golfer. Yeah, I'm not offended by it, but I would be like, you shouldn't know me just for this. Like, I can play.
Yeah. Another name up there would be Luke Sampson.
Heck yeah.
He probably he's one of those guys that has that work ethic that is continuing to push him up very, very quickly. And again,
is he sponsored by Castoplast?
I believe so.
I think so. That's exciting. This Bergs, man.
Not surprised with Garrett Gerthy being up there. I played with him, I want to say first or second round maybe. And, I mean, the guy just throws the disc so well. I'm not surprised either that a lot of the European people that people were talking big about kind of struggled on FPO and MPO side.
Seppo had a few good – he had some awful breaks.
Seppo finished –
He slid pretty far down.
Seppo – did he slide? Oh,
yeah.
26.
Yeah, but, I mean, he had some breaks where you're just like, how did that just happen to someone?
Yeah, he shot a 60.
He was on like lead card.
Yeah, at one point.
Oh, yeah, the second round.
He had like
he
a
didn't play
filthy
well.
chain out. Like, I mean, it was a near perfect putt, and just I felt awful for him because he was getting rollaways too, where like his disc just somehow ended up OB, and it made no sense. It was bad. But I mean, that's just that's disc golf. Course giveth, the course taketh away.
Did Drew and Ganon both finish at minus 39?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is funny because the commentators after day 3 were like, yeah, I think it was Philo said, yeah, I know a lot of people have said like 40 under par is what the line you're going to have to get to. He's like, these guys are going to have to shred the course tomorrow if they want to get to 40 under par. Like, I don't know if that's going to be the line. Yeah. And they almost got there.
It was right there, yeah.
They got to 39.
I mean, that's what I was saying is like after my first round shooting 9 under, like I was like, to win this thing, you got to shoot you have to average double digits per round.
You would have won by 1 if you would have done it.
Gosh, could you imagine? Yeah, I mean, other than that, I'm not too incredibly surprised. You have, you drop down to 12 guys, or sorry, 15 guys were within 9 shots. That's 2 shots basically around right there. I mean, it's not bad.
No.
It's not bad.
Before we get into Twitter Spaces, though, Silas said he had a debate topic.
Oh, I have something, too, I need to bring up.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, let's hear Silas, and we'll go to
Brody.
Wait, okay, first of all, can you have Chipotle, Hunter?
Not currently, but I'm a passionate Chipotle fan.
Is this about your tweet, Silas?
Yeah, it's about my tweet. Okay, so
the chips. How dare you come after Chipotle's chips?
No one goes to Chipotle for chips.
Yes, you do. What are you talking about? Chipotle's chips are incredible.
People go there for their chips.
That's all I can eat.
Chips
there.
and queso.
So,
I mean,
you don't go there like the only reason I'm going to Chipotle is their chips.
That's why I literally just said no one goes there for their chips. That's literally it's the same thing.
It would sway me. It swayed
no
me
one
from
goes
going
to In-N-Out for their fries.
It sways me from going to Moe's or going to.
I think Moe's has superior chips to Chipotle.
Okay, I need to go to Moe's.
Welcome to Moe's.
Are you tasting the salt or the lime?
No, okay.
Yeah, the lime.
Salt.
I'm not a lime guy.
The salt of
it's like lime salt.
Maybe I had a bad batch, but I don't think I did. Okay.
Hard to have a bad batch
because
of chips.
Those chips were the saltiest chips I've ever
salt,
had.
like potato chip.
Yeah, they
salt.
were like yes.
Chipotle chips aren't salty.
Yeah,
though.
they were so salty.
They have like lime salt.
No, they were so salty.
You know who has good chips? Chili's.
You know what I bet happened? I bet they got their salt and their lime mixed up on yours.
Well, hopefully they did.
And they
I really hope they did.
Did you pay for those?
Is this your first time having Chipotle chips?
No.
Okay,
no.
and in the past, were they good?
They were slightly salty. They were slightly standard chips.
And they were lime.
Now
they were lime though.
I don't know if they were lime. I don't.
They do have.
That's their thing. That's literally their whole thing.
I don't taste the lime. All I could taste in this was the salt.
But I'm saying, like, if you've had them in the past, did you like them in the past?
Yes.
So you would agree that this is probably an outlying batch.
I sure hope it is because, man.
But it's different than the one you had previously.
It was nasty.
Are you eating him by himself?
No.
What do you have?
Okay, so they didn't give me a fork. So I couldn't.
So you were scooping your food up with it? That's incredible.
Scooping the chips.
What did you eat? What's your?
It was my go-to. Okay, it was white rice with pinto beans.
Okay.
And with steak, and with cheese, sour cream, and lettuce, and that's it.
I'm a big. I used to be. I can't eat anymore. Big barbacoa guy.
What is that?
It's basically just like seasoned shredded beef.
So like pulled pork, kind of?
No, like beef. Pulled pork is pork.
Well, yeah.
But kinda, sure.
Or like
All right,
shredded
so
steak.
what is
Yes.
what is your
Gotcha.
what is your
seasoned.
thought?
It's
What
incredible.
My thought is
what are you
that
saying here?
Chipotle's chips are way too salty, and
No.
they need to change their recipe because
you just said
it tastes like trash. And maybe I did.
You said you
maybe
had
I
ones
did get a bad
previously that
batch.
tasted differently,
Hey,
Silas.
hey, man,
Listen to yourself.
Maybe I did get a bad batch. Okay, I'm gonna have to get a Moe's because
No.
apparently Brody thinks that
Brody
Chipotle
thinks so many things
chips
food-wise.
Chili's chips are better than both.
I'm texting Trevor real quick.
Chili's-
Trevor's a foodie. So I'm gonna just say chips, Moe's versus Chipotle.
I was 250 pounds a couple months ago. I'm a foodie. I love food.
That's fair.
And that's a good point. I mean, you can't argue that. Can't argue the scale at all.
Someone said chili salsa is good too.
Their queso's
Chili's.
queso's very good too.
I thought they were more of like a American.
They're definitely
food.
more of a microwave kind of throw your food in there. But you know, sometimes.
What does that mean?
What do you mean? What does that mean?
It's like their food's just frozen. Okay, Trevor's response. Chipotle is, let me count these zeros.
Oh, that many times better?
Chipotle is, I believe that is 10 million times better in every aspect.
I could be wrong here. I could be wrong here, but I think Chipotle and Moe's have like this, like, no one likes both. So you're either on the Moe's train and you think Chipotle's trash and Moe's is way better.
Doesn't Moe's have like basically Taco Bell meat?
No, it's literally the same. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not someone that's biased when it comes to food.
It's the same.
I'm saying it's essentially the same exact thing.
So you can get like a bowl and
Yes.
a burrito
Yes.
and all that.
Yes, and like the
I went to
difference in
Moe's
quality.
once,
The difference
and
in
I absolutely
quality.
hated it.
A good example.
What the heck is that? That's literally just chili. Like that's
I
Taco
don't
Bell
get that.
mystery
I
meat.
don't get that. I get the
that's-
steak, the thing at the top, the steak.
Yeah, but if you serve that mystery meat, I immediately walk into a restaurant and I'm like, they should be paying me to eat their food right now.
Well, I mean, Subway served those veggie patties, which were an absolute disgrace of a food item, but I still love Subway. So, just saying someone has a terrible food item doesn't mean all their food is. All right, saw this now. I'm hungry. Let's talk about this real quick before we go into
Welcome
Twitter.
to Moe's.
Before we go into Twitter Spaces, just because when coming from someone that has had some of the worst takes of all time on Twitter, okay, and I'll the ball golf terrible take. Now that I go back with it, I don't really care. I'll be the first one to come out and say a take was bad. So when I see a bad take coming from someone that is the king of bad takes, it's very easy for me to see this. So this popped up on my Twitter timeline, and I feel like we just need to talk about this real quick. So this is from Ella, who is an FPO player. Recently from Ultimate Frisbee, transferred over. Really good Ultimate Frisbee player, and has picked up disc golf really fast, and is probably going to be competing in the top 10 for quite some time, it looks like. So she said, this weekend was a lot of fun, but it did remind me of how much I dislike being in the gallery exclusively because inebriated AMs love yelling their very uneducated opinions about what the pros are choosing to do. She continued on by saying, no, that backhand dominant player should not be throwing a forehand upshot just because you would do it. There's a reason they're on the pro tour and not you.
You should mention though, this tweet has since been deleted. So she probably has realized this was a bad take.
So she did delete it, but she came out and said, because I wanted to check to see if there was a statement or something about that. Cause I'm always interested how people handle their social media. Like, do you just delete it and act like it never happened? Or what? So she came out and said, just to clarify a couple things, I love and appreciate having fans. Yes, there was drinking at the course this weekend. People are more than welcome to spectate, heckle, yell, etc. I'm allowed to find things annoying. Thanks, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. She then continued to say, also, ultimate heckling is greater than disc golf heckling, which I will disagree heavily. I think ultimate heckling is terrible. As far as because their whole thing of heckling is it should be funny or whatever. I mean, heckling's heckling, whatever. I have lots to unpack here. the first thing that just jumped out of my mind was and by we, I'm saying people that are trying to make a living playing disc golf, do not do that, aren't able to achieve that goal of paying the bills and playing disc golf if it weren't for the fans. Simple as that. If people aren't paying attention to what you're doing as a business, as a sporting entertainment business, you don't make money. So in that post, there just seemed like there was this lot of like is it elitism? Is that the word? Elitist?
Yeah.
Of like, I'm up here and you guys are down here. So don't even talk to me. I'm above you. We're on the pro tour. You keep your amateur blah, blah, blah to yourself. I'm not a huge fan of that, obviously, for lots of different reasons. Mainly one right now is the last thing I think we should be doing is trying to prevent fans to consume disc golf. I think we want more people to consume disc golf versus less people to consume disc golf. And this is also something too of where I saw a lot, unfortunately, firsthand in Ultimate, where it's like, again, these are certain statements that come from people that might be preaching that this sport is super welcoming. We welcome everyone. Everyone's welcome. Disc golf has the best people in the world because we welcome everyone. And as soon as someone does something that doesn't sit right with you, well, you're not welcome, but everyone else is. Now, let me first say, I will not condone.
The heck was that?
What the heck was that?
I don't know.
I will not condone or stand for fans being disrespectful or yelling out hate or anything like that would essentially, at any other sporting event, would get someone removed, right? If someone's about to try to throw and as they're in the run-up, you scream something at them. I mean, honestly, like it's wild though, because again, it's funny. I went through the mentions a little bit on this, and it's so funny because I'm trying to remember Twitter profiles to be like, was this the same person telling me a while ago to stop trying to make disc golf like golf? But yet here they are saying like, hey, we need to have respect. We need to like have this like, again, this whole like golf, like we don't say anything bad. Because if you go to anyone out there watching, if you go to an NFL game, an NHL game, an NBA game, anything like that, you will hear some of the craziest stuff yelled from the fans to the players. Crazy stuff. You don't really hear that kind of stuff that much in the golf atmosphere. So it's kind of weird, again, where it's like I do feel like some people want to pick and choose certain things from golf, but don't act like they're getting it from golf, because golf does, like, if you go to a golf event, it is a different atmosphere, a different environment. We talked about this again, I think on two debate nights ago with the loudest hole, where Waste Management has this kind of like culture of where we can do a little bit different things than others. It's weird though to see some people be like, hey, we need to have this, which is like, again, what other people, the same people maybe have even said like, we don't want the stuffy disc golf to come over to disc golf. We want it to be, if we are talking about how like at the World Shot where people are running around on the course and we're like, yeah, we don't really want that. But then these people are saying they do want that, but that they don't want that. It gets very confusing on what you're actually trying to prioritize and value. So I'll be the first to say, like, I don't think people should be yelling out hateful stuff. But if someone's like yelling out, like, throw a thumber, like, I hear all the time, throw a scuba. We want to see a scuba. When in fact, it's not even close to a scuba shot. Or, and her example was literally just going off her example. Her example sounded like someone was saying, like, you should throw a forehand. So I don't know if it's like, if they were yelling like, hey, you suck. If you were good, you should throw a forehand. I doubt that's what, I've never heard anyone say anything close to that. So that's where, like, I just have this like weird thing of like, again, when I read that, I just got this like, there's a reason they're on the pro tour and you're not. And it's like, man, at the end of the day, and it is, I'll say, again, I have no fear of saying what's on my mind, right? Because it's so much harder for me to hold back and try not to say stuff that I believe than it is just for me to just come out and say everything. It's tough to watch a lot of these people take money from fans. Let me try to think real quick how to say this.
What the heck?
Hold on. Her first tweet goes out.
Uh-huh.
She starts seeing negative things. And again, I'm not just pinpointing it on her. I've seen this from a lot of other people as well happen on social media, where something is said, they post something, and they start seeing negative feedback. And instead of just being like, no, I'm standing by what I said, like I believe in what I said, they remove it, and then they come out with this like PR move of basically like, no, everything's cool. The thing I don't like about that is I would much rather just someone to just be authentic and be like, you know what? I'm going to say some things that are going to upset some people. And that's fine. But at least I'm being true to myself and I'm saying whatever. But I can't, I just have a hard time seeing people that when it comes to like fans and money, and it's like, oh crap, like I can't piss off these people. These are people that make me money. So like I'm going to go out and like fix it by saying something, but I actually don't really mean it because what I actually meant was the first thing I said and then I deleted it. And now that is where it's difficult for me because it's weird. Do you think it's better to just not say anything at all and basically have these fans or whatever that pay your discs and buy your stuff and all that stuff? Because at the end of the day, like that's the thing. If no one likes you, right? If no one likes you, no one's going to buy your Tour Series disc. No one's going to give a flying cahoot what disc you're throwing. You're not going to get sponsors because it doesn't matter what's in your bag. No one cares. Guess what? If you go out and win every single tour event, you're not making that much money because we just saw $6,000 is how much Drew Gibson won. If he has no one covering his bills, right? If he lives in a van, I guess some of the expenses are different. But Drew Gibson, I don't think was living in a van. So my guess is he was paying for hotel. He was paying for food. He was paying for all this stuff. If he doesn't have any sponsors paying for that stuff, it probably costs him close to $1,000 to be out there for the week or somewhere around there, right? $500, $700. So he's bringing home like $5,000 after taxes, all this stuff. The money isn't there just to go out and be good. So you need to have the fans to like you for you to sell this. And then for companies to be like, oh, this person's really well liked. So the question is, do you think it's who do you respect more? The person that doesn't say anything and have fans just be like, oh, this person's awesome, I love them, and they just aren't saying anything so no one really knows who they are? Or someone that is like basically going out and saying stuff to try to get people to like them to then buy their stuff?
Well, I mean, I think first off,
sorry, I said a whole lot.
Yeah.
But I don't like seeing people get taken advantage of.
It's almost never the wrong move to just say what you think and be yourself. There's some people, and we've seen this at times, that are going to say what they think and be themselves, and no one's going to like them. So it's I mean, that's just a loss. Like if you just kind of say stuff or whatever and you suck as a person, I mean, that sucks to be you, but it is what it is. But it is true of like, it's better for your fans to be fans of who you actually are, because you're also going to have more diehard fans that way versus like this fake facade of like who you think your fans want you to be. Yeah. And you put that out there. But when it comes to Twitter, which is where this all went down, Twitter is a unique platform that I've had my fair share of weird struggles on Twitter because it's really easy to go in and like she probably heard something at this tournament or something that made her be like, man, I really wish people just wouldn't do this. And in a moment of like, this sucks, I don't like this, you write a tweet
It was also 2 days after.
It is true. 2 days after gives you time to think through. So what I'm about to say doesn't make sense.
It wasn't like it just happened and she just blasted it
But
out.
regardless, sometimes like
I know what you're saying, though.
the way you send a tweet,
the way you say, I'll put my hand up right away.
You just think people hear it the way you're thinking.
I have said so many things on Twitter where I'm like, oh, this is fine, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden you get blasted with people being like, what the heck? And you're like, whoa, they took that a completely different way.
Yeah. So
Point example, me spending $1,000 on the driving range. There are still to this day people thinking I was flexing that I have money to spend $1,000. There's also people to this day that think I spent the $1,000 just for me to warm up on the driving range. So I will be the first one to say, like, there has been many a tweets that I've tweeted out that I thought came off as one way and didn't.
That's where I think Twitter is like this thing where, because it removes your tone, it removes everything about you talking, to where when you send a tweet, it's literally up to me to read it in what I assume your voice is writing that. So I read a tweet and I'm like, oh, this person's kind of joking around. This is a funny tweet.
Yep.
You read it and you're like, holy cow, this person's a jerk. And we read the same tweet.
Very true.
Now, so because the other thing too is like, in her replies, I didn't get to see the tweet because by the time the screenshot was out, it was deleted. But for her to delete the tweet, it makes me think that one of two things. Either A, you're right, she got the pushback and she was like, oh crap, I can't have pushback, I need to delete it. Or B, the tweet was coming across completely differently than she meant for it. And she was like, crap, this tweet didn't go over. Like, I was trying to do whatever.
But do you wait several hours to then tweet again to clarify if that's really the case? Or...
I mean,
everyone's different. If you read the again,
I didn't get to read any replies, so I'm just going off of my personal experience in the past of where I've tweeted something and then it immediately gets taken a different way than I was trying to say it. I'm like, oh crap, what do I do? And it's like this thing of like a spiral where people are just constantly coming at you because they think they heard it the way you meant it, when really I was saying something sarcastic or I was saying whatever, and my tone came across different on a tweet, and so now I look like a jerk or like something that I'm not or not trying to be. I think my typical response in those situations has been quote tweet it and explain myself, or just like double down on the sarcasm because like the people who get it find it really funny, and the people who don't, I can just kind of joke with until they understand I'm joking, or they just hate me and they're never gonna like me. So I'm not a huge fan of deleting tweets unless I said something that I was like, ooh, I don't actually mean that, or I've thought through it and I'm like, that was actually a really bad tweet. But I haven't really had any of those yet. I'm sure they'll come at someday.
I feel like I would.
Twitter's just a weird platform.
Yeah, I think I would have taken it differently had the whole situation not transpired the way, like as far as deleting the tweet, then posting something several hours later, clarifying it. If you look at some of her responses to other people as well, like you can kind of see just like. I
mean, the point she was making is completely. The initial
That's what I'm saying.
Is a fair
if
point.
If she took out the stuff of where she was like, "There's a reason while we're on the pros and you're an ant." Like,
well, she also said something about it being a bad take or something about like I'd have to read the tweet again, but something where it almost felt like she was implying the fans had no idea what they were talking about disc golf wise.
Yeah, where like we know what we're doing, you have no clue. Yeah. When in fact, like there's a lot of people that they might not be. I mean, look at some of the best coaches in the world. They don't necessarily are incredibly good at what they're coaching.
Yeah.
They just know really a good way of like getting across. Sure. So it's like there's a lot of fans that know what they're talking about.
Yeah, the core point in it though, I could see where as a pro it could be annoying if like maybe she's the one who's like trying to line up a backhand
It's a part
throw.
of the situation though.
Absolutely, but I could see where it could be annoying.
Sure.
And the other thing too is this is a year where there's going to be more fans. There's going to be more things to where even on social media we saw it with other players too, where like there's more noise, there's more eyeballs. So Kona has more fans, but Kona has more haters than ever because the more fans you get, the more haters you get. And so there's more negative comments. There's more stuff where disc golfers 5 years ago, you didn't have to deal with that crap. So if you've been on tour for 6 years, this might be one of the first years that you're in the spotlight with twice as many eyes you've ever had on you before, and twice as many haters and twice as many people who are like opposing you, it feels like, to where even though you have twice as many fans, all you see is this negative stuff, and you're not used to when you're on the course and you're lining up your backhand and someone's behind you like, hey, throw a forehand. They might have also been saying it as like a a joking manner to James Conrad because they want to
Sure.
see James Conrad throw a forehand.
Sure.
Whatever. I could see where as a player, if it was said towards me, I might be like, really? Like, let me line up my shot.
Here's where I want to clarify something because she had a reply in her tweet. It says, to clarify, these things weren't yelled at me specifically, just something I noticed while spectating MPO.
Yeah,
Okay.
she was in the gallery.
But regardless, I could see where her core point, I could see where you might get irritated by it, I guess I should say. Getting irritated to the point of a tweet is one thing, and then I agree some of the language used in the tweet does make it seem like this idea of like, we're up here, we're these tour level players, you don't belong talking to us type thing. I have a hard time believing that's what she meant in those words, and that's where I'm saying Twitter's just a weird space.
It's an easy. That's always the easy thing is like when someone says something terrible to you, right? You're just like, oh well, I could beat you, right? Like that's just an easy thing of like, well, you're an 850. I mean, you see that all the time where it's like, even fans will argue with other fans when someone says something negative about a player. They'll be like, oh well, you're 850.
That was people's immediate responses. That's what at one point my Twitter bio was, my rating's not high enough for my opinion to matter.
Exactly.
Because we would say something on Grip Locked and people would immediately be like I said something about, for some reason I feel like it was James Conrad, but even if it wasn't, I'm going to throw him in there. I said something about a player. We'll call him James Conrad. Said something about James Conrad, and 50% of the comments that disagree with me, instead of saying, this is actually the counterpoint, they're like, "What? Who are you? James Conrad could beat you." And I was like, when did I ever say that I could beat James Conrad? Literally never. Like that's not what I'm not a player.
That's isn't that like if you went to like a debate, like actual debate contest, like that's something that they don't
Well,
use.
yeah, because you're
of course
just
not, 'cause it's
personally,
basically
it's
like-
just like a personal attack.
Well, because if
not
not
actually debating what they said.
Yeah,
The
because
argument,
if I'm
yeah.
debating Silas and I'm like, we have a Fujifilm here, I'm like, hey Silas, like Fujifilms suck compared to Sony's, and Silas just immediately responds with like, well, you're ugly.
Yeah.
Then it just to me, I immediately go, okay, but my point was right then, because you have nothing to counteract other than attacking me personally.
Or like
Right.
attacking your education in that sense of being like, well, you didn't go to film school.
Yeah. You think that
Yeah,
Fujifilms sucks? Well,
I'll-
I'm getting my bachelor's in it. I'm just like,
This is
okay. Well, explain to me why then.
This is another thing that I brought up the two things, right? I brought up the money and how that is going to play. It's going to be an interesting storyline moving forward of like these big contracts coming out, players getting money. Like Ricky doesn't get a top 5 in the first 5 events. What happens? Like in the past, people I'm sure would talk about it, but they're not going to talk about it nearly as much as they are going to now, knowing that he's getting paid $1 million every year, right?
Yeah.
So that was a story that I think is going to continue on. And then the other thing too is just like what you were saying, there are more eyeballs, there are more media, there are more people talking about disc golf, which again, at the end of the day is great for everyone. But if you're not used to negative stuff, when negative stuff comes your way, it just seems like that's all that's happening.
Yeah.
So
we went through spells where with Foundation, negative comments and stuff have built up, or negative Reddit threads.
and you're not ready, you're not used to it, so
No.
you just think everyone hates you.
There were like moments where I'd be reading it and I'm just like, I can't get off my phone. And my wife's like, what's going on? I was like, everyone hates Foundation.
Yeah.
She's like, no, they don't. I'm like, yes, like, look at these comments. She's like, you literally just scrolled past 4 people telling you guys, oh, what a funny video. And you're looking at the 3 who said you guys suck.
You just pull out the
But it's
negative.
because I was stepping into a world of social media that like I've never really been in.
Yep.
And so once I start getting negative comments, it almost feels like a friend walks in and just like, hey, dude, you suck. And you're just like, what the heck? When really it's just some random guy sitting behind a keyboard that who knows why they typed that. They might have a bad day at work.
Yeah.
And so now they're taking it out on you. You don't know.
So to wrap this up, and we'll bounce over here.
Put a bow on it.
We'll bounce over to Twitter Spaces here in a second to get some of your guys' thoughts on some of the things we talked about, Las Vegas, whatever it may be. I just think there's a lot of things that we can be critical about and go after. One thing I think, just as pros go, one thing that I don't like people feeling like they're not welcome to come and watch and spectate and be a fan and be a spectator and whatever. Like, are we really policing what people are and aren't allowed to say at a disc golf course? Because like I just know for a fact, year one, if I came out and said something like that, like as far as like, hey, these things shouldn't be said at a disc golf tournament. Like they're not set at golf tournaments. They shouldn't be set at disc golf tournaments. So many people would go after me and be like, this isn't golf. This is disc golf. Get a thicker skin, blah, blah. So that's where it's like, there's certain things that like I just think shouldn't, like, who cares? Like, who cares? I'm sure I don't know. I'll just say that. You're going to, and again, when you bring stuff up, it's the same thing as like when I respond to a negative comment or quote tweet a negative tweet, reply to me or whatever, it brings in more negativity. And that's something I need to work on, right? Like if you don't want the smoke, just stay out, because if you continue
can't handle the fire, get out the kitchen.
If you continue to bring light, like I guarantee there probably are people that saw that tweet and were like, wow, Ella's soft, and are probably going to go to events now. And maybe it's the whole Brooksy thing, right? Remember when the DeChambeau Brooksy thing, and like DeChambeau came out and was like talking about how he hated people yelling Brooksy at him and all this.
Of course, everyone's going to yell Brooksy
the next
now.
tournament, it was amplified. And then, it got so bad that the PGA Tour, which again, I think a lot of fans did not like this move, but like they started throwing people out for saying Brooksy.
Yeah.
Which is wild. So like, do we want to get to that point of where we have people, staff of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, throwing people out because they're yelling at players that throw a mid or throw a putter or throw a hammer or throw a whatever? So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. There were a lot of people that agreed with her too, though. So that just shows you like there isn't a right or wrong. There are going to be people that agree and there are going to be people that disagree. I'm just going to be one of those people that disagree. All right, let's jump on Twitter Spaces. Who knows? Maybe she'll join in Twitter Spaces and give her spiel. Chances?
Low.
1%? Silas? What do you think? Chances?
Chances?
I'll
give you 26%.
Oh, shoot.
Silas.
I think she could. I don't.
Now you'd have to start with her actually listening to this first.
I don't know her personality.
Oh, she's 100% not listening.
That's what I'm saying. You'd have to start with her actually
say.
Listening to what was just.
If only we could get people to call in that we actually disagree with.
We'll find. Hey, tonight's the night,
incredible.
maybe.
Tonight's the night.
But it's hard because at the same time, it's like if you listen to someone, maybe you need to be more agreeable.
Me?
Yeah, because like think about it. If you hate Stephen A. Smith and you're like, I can't stand that guy. Everything that guy says is terrible. He had Max Kellerman across that would disagree with everything that Stephen A. Smith said. So people would tune in for Max if they hated Stephen A. Smith.
So I need to disagree with everything you say.
I think so.
All right.
Because then people would be like, because right now, if people like disagree with what I say, they're just not going to watch.
I couldn't disagree more.
All right, disc golf debate night. Let's start. We're joining.
Let me pop in here. My chair's very squeaky.
Oh, I don't have my computer or anything, so I can't really join with debate.
You join as?
I think you should join as Hunter.
As me?
Yeah. And then, we already got something right now.
Oh, someone asked if you're getting it ready still. Anyone know why Nathan Queen DNF'd?
I believe he hurt.
He hurt something, hamstring or something. Because he actually wasn't even having that. Because sometimes you do see people.
It was an arm.
It might have been arm.
He had an injury.
He injured something. Because
Gotcha.
he was not someone that you sometimes see people DNF and then you look at their scorecard and you're like, oh, that's why. Like he was
playing good.
He was in the
up
money.
towards the top. Yeah.
He was in the money. All right.
He was.
This person jumped on first. So are we gonna be able to hear this through the microphone?
Yes.
Sas?
Should be right there.
Okay. All right. You're on. What's going on?
What up?
We are chilling.
So yeah, just play off some things that you guys were just saying. Well, for one, the thing about people who don't like you not listening. Maybe LA is listening. I'm not saying I don't like you guys, but I disagree with a lot of things Foundation has to say. But I like to listen in the same way that I'll listen to Fox News sometimes, you know?
Nice.
But one thing I am curious about is what is that line? You mentioned the Brooksy thing, and we're talking about Ella. What if someone was following you with a sign that says Brodie Smith sucks? Is that too far?
I wouldn't want that person kicked out.
Okay. What do you think that line is?
I think if someone is disrupting play, I think I mentioned this quickly. If someone's disrupting play, so if they're doing something while you're setting up a putt, if they're doing something while you're about to throw, something like that where it's intentionally disrupting play. I don't know. Did we ever figure out what happened with Katrina missing that putt?
Yeah,
what was that?
There's a spectator talking to a volunteer facing the other direction. And it was poorly timed conversation where they were talking to the volunteer very loudly right as she was going to putt. And so like they were looking the other direction and didn't notice she was about to putt, talked very loudly, and then she turned around and people were like telling them to be quiet.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, so I would say if anything like that is done intentionally, because that obviously wasn't intentional. If something is done intentionally to disrupt play, that person probably should be removed. And then I would say if anyone is yelling like because it is different, the atmosphere is different than a football game or whatever, because you're never at a football game, you're never able to hear like on coverage, for example. Sometimes you hear it from players and coaches, but on coverage, you're never really able to pick out a singular voice from a fan, right? So in disc golf, because it is the nature of like everyone's quiet before you throw, before you putt, you know, if someone's saying obscenities and stuff that you don't want on your broadcast, then that person probably also needs to be removed.
Cool. Just two quick things. So you said intentionally. So like, you know, everybody following the lead card is one thing and there's some random guy in a sign. What if you're Brodie Smith? You're not even on the feature card, maybe not even top 2 or 3 cards, and it's one person specifically following you. Is that too far?
I would probably laugh, honestly.
Like
that would be, I mean, if anything, that would be like, I'd be like, this guy is putting a lot of effort into it. Totally. Again, a sign that says Brodie Smith sucks. I mean, I've heard that thousands of times.
A million times. Right?
Now, if someone, I think there are certain things that, like, to me personally, I think are off limits as far as should they get thrown out? Probably not. But like if someone brings, you know, family members,
right,
stuff like that, you know, if someone's doing stuff like that, like that's where, to me, I wouldn't respect them as a spectator or fan. Do they get thrown out of an event for doing it? I don't think so. But if someone's just holding a sign that says like Brodie Smith sucks, like I'm thinking like that person took a lot of time. First off, no one really has stuff to make signs. If you're going to make a sign, you actually have to go out and buy stuff to make a sign, right? No one just has arts and crafts in their house. So that person went out of their way to make a sign, to follow my card, and I don't know. I think I would probably laugh. I would probably laugh because, again, like, I'm not opposed for – I don't mind people that don't want me to succeed, right? Because if all you ever have around you is people telling you how awesome you are and you're great and you're amazing and all that stuff,
then your perspective's off.
Your perspective's way off. So I love having people keeping me in check and stuff. So, like, seeing that sign, like, to me, it's like, all right, I'm going to try to go out in here and shred. And then afterwards, honestly, if he stuck around, I'd probably ask if he wanted me to sign it. is probably what it would probably be the play I'd do.
Totally. And then just my last opinion on it is just, I agree with you, is that at the end of the day, if you're one of the pros that's getting heckled or something, to me, all you can really do is laugh. I think it's going too far to be upset because at the end of the day, the person being heckled is living out everybody else's dream. Like, the reason they're there is because we're there wishing we were you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's just at the end of the day, I don't see why somebody might get upset at a heckler. If anything, all you could do is laugh it off. So.
Yeah, of course. And, you know,
definitely.
I think a lot of times people are saying stuff and doing stuff to try to get a reaction out of you. So if you do give them that reaction, you're basically feeding into what they're trying to do.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah. All right. Did you have anything else, or was that it?
I don't. I appreciate you guys for having me on. Keep doing your thing.
Of course, man. Have a nice night.
You as well.
All right, we got Dustin coming in. Dustin. Real quick, before Dustin jumps on, because I already can tell some people being like, well, because he used the sign thing, and I made a big stink about this sign at Stafford Woods. Completely different situation. Brody Smith sucks sign at an event that I'm playing is after me. That sign at Stafford Woods was after my fans, which is a completely different scenario of where, again,
I hope I get to spectate a tournament this year because I'm going to bring a Brody Smith sucks sign.
That'd be sweet.
And I'm gonna hold it where you can't see it's my face.
Are you gonna spell it with a K or a C-K-S or an
S-U-X.
X? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm gonna spell it B-R-O-D-Y.
Oh yes.
And I'm gonna hold it in front of my face so you don't know it's me.
I have so many trophies with Brody with a Y. All right, Dustin, you're on. You can unmute yourself whenever you're ready, man.
I don't know if you were on for the last one, but I think I'm still going to double down and go ahead and say Ganon Burr has a better year than Ricky Wysocki again.
Oh, I remember.
So,
he did say that.
Yeah, so if he wants to go opposed to me or if he wants to double down with me, I'm here for it. But
I mean, better year than Ricky.
He's looking good so far.
We're one tournament in.
I just think he doesn't look like normal Ricky, and maybe that was just me looking too much into it, but he didn't look comfortable, and he had, like, his hat on, and normally, like, no shade to him, but, like, normally when he hits a 10-footer and even somebody just peeps a little something, he's usually, like, raptor legging and getting up in the crowd, but, like, he wasn't doing that. So, I don't know. He just doesn't look the same.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as much looking at this of, I think Ricky's going to have a worse season play-wise. I'm more looking of like how good is Ganon Burr going to be this year, and he was very impressive this first weekend. I actually texted him after the tournament, just talking to him.
Humble brag.
Yeah, humble brag. You know, I have his number. It is what it is. But no, he responded. He responded though. The whole reason I brought it up is he responded and was like, "No, my time will come, possibly Waco," with a little like eye emoji. Like he's already just immediately.
I mean, he played well at Waco last year.
Yeah,
so.
like he's immediately looking at the next tournament like, hey, this could be it. Like I've proven I can do it. Maybe this next tournament. So I'm still going to disagree. I still think Ricky will have a better year. But if you call in again after Waco and Ganon pops off at Waco and beats Ricky, I might be on your side. I'm gonna give Ricky another shot here at Waco.
Okay. Hey, that's respectable. I mean, it's respectable for sure. He's definitely Ricky Wysocki. I just think that he's just, I don't know. He doesn't look comfortable.
He didn't look comfortable.
Changes.
You're right. At Vegas, he didn't look comfortable. But again, I get caught in this trap pretty much every year where the first tournament happens and I'm like, this is the season. This is it right here. It's only been one tournament. We've seen 4 rounds of disc golf this year. The first four rounds with Ricky on
three different courses.
Yeah, on 3 different courses.
Yep.
Let's not make any assumptions yet. Let's let some more golf happen, then we can start making assumptions.
Yeah, I would agree. I just think, you know, with Ganon, like you're saying, Ganon, he's got to prove himself on the wooded holes, but shouldn't Ricky be doing better in the wide open with not as many trees? I mean, yeah, there's OB and hazards and stuff, but you know, shouldn't he be? I don't know. That's my only argument. Yeah. Shouldn't he be killing it?
Well, I mean, I think this is less about Ricky's good, like how good Ricky's going to play, and more about how good Ganon can play.
Yeah, I would say Ricky is not.
Ricky's going to be back at some point.
I will say this: Ricky isn't getting worse. It's not like he's having an off year.
Well, it's 4 rounds in.
No, I know, but I'm saying I'm saying this year, like if he doesn't do nearly as well as last year, I don't think you look at that and say, wow, Ricky got worse. I think you look at that and say a lot of other people have gotten better.
Yeah.
The gap is closing, and more people are putting themselves in a position where, you know, Ricky has to play incredible to win versus being able to just show up and play good and win.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thanks for calling in, Dustin.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks,
all right,
guys.
Take it easy, man. This Ben guy was raising his hand a lot, so we'll throw Ben in here.
Hello, this is Ben. Can you hear me?
Ben, we can hear you. What's up, man?
Right on. I got a fresh topic I've been wanting to hit you guys with for a long time.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so my main point, we all watch SportsCenter and we hear debates about LeBron versus MJ, but we can never really settle those debates because they can't play each other.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest opportunity that both golf sports that we all follow are missing is that it's you against the course. But the problem is that both Augusta National and Winthrop Gold are always changing the course. But if in both sports, if we had a course that we knew was a true test and the equipment was restricted in a way that it didn't change over time, we could actually say, so-and-so shot a 62, and that's the greatest round ever played.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
That's fascinating.
But I think there's still a big opportunity for, like, you know, I could see guys like, you know, if the Pro Tour looped in, and, you know, this Eagles Crossing course is a good example. But if the Pro Tour went in and got the buy-in from guys like Nate Sexton and, you know, Cale Abiska, and they even maybe they purchased land or had a wealthy owner like we already have, that they could set up a course and agree upon, like, really loop in and have the buy-in of the players that this is a course that we won't be changing going forward. Then the course record at a place like that would be, I think, the most deeply meaningful accomplishment in a career would be to have the course record at the course.
Yeah, no, you make a good point. It's gonna be interesting too, just to see what disc technology. Yeah, because it's hard. I'm sure, in anything, right? You get so locked in, like, well, this is the way to do it. Yeah, they can't make anything better. There's no way they can make this better, and they end up doing it. So it'll be interesting to see, like, what happens in 10 years. Like, are discs able to fly farther, straighter, longer?
That's what he was saying. Like, you lock in, like, this era of discs, and, like, you're 20 years from now, you got to play with the same discs. That's
just where it's gonna be tricky, because
what if if players are learning how to play with other discs?
I don't think it's as much of an issue. Like, we really haven't seen big leaps forward in disc technology. Like, since the Destroyer came out, nothing's really getting better.
No, not yet.
So as long as the PDGA doesn't start, like, allowing Arobi rings to be thrown in competition, I don't think that's as big of an issue as. I think the bigger issue is that most of what we regard as a true test in a disc golf course has trees, and trees don't stay the same over a 50-year period.
True.
You know, limbs come down, and
they can get taller, they can get removed, so.
And wider. Yeah, as they grow.
But even just the point in general, though, it's always bugged me. Like, I've been playing disc golf since I quit playing Ultimate in, like, the year 2000, and following USDGC since there was the disc golf planet streams, and they seem to take great pride in always changing the course and having it never be the same. I always felt that as a fan that took away from my experience of watching it, because I remember when Josh Anton shot 53, and I wanted that number to mean something. Yeah. And just year after year after year of the course being so radically different, it means that I think it takes away from the history when the course is constantly getting changed.
I think too, it's tough. It's tough right now because with course design, they're still trying to figure it out of how to make these fair tests. And I think too, you're going to see, like the tournament that we just played, I don't think that is going to be the norm moving forward of it's just birdie fest, right? Like just birdies. It is exciting, but I think if Las Vegas was the 5th tournament of the year and it was backed with a couple other birdie fest tournaments, it definitely would not be as exciting, because you'd just be like, man, when you're watching holes, it's just like, okay, is he going to make a par or birdie? Yeah. So, I mean, I've had this argument for a while of just like, it's a lot more exciting when you watch, like, the first couple holes in that playoff is a perfect example. First couple of holes in the playoff is like, is anyone not going to birdie this hole? Because
those holes were, I think, are not so much the second hole they played, hole 3, but hole 1 is a lot more difficult than they made it look. Like, I would have thought in previous years we probably would have seen that pushed with pars. Would have been the expectation.
It's tough. Hole 1 is definitely, I mean, coming from the guy that shot 5 over on the hole.
There you go. You've got respect for it.
It's definitely not the easiest of birdies in the world, but with Drew's backhand and Ganon's forehand, if you have a decent forehand on that hole's very, very difficult to like make anything worse than a par. Hole 3, same example. It's like just one decent 220 foot shot, birdie. hole, and the next hole they played was like you just have to throw somewhat of a decent turnover shot, and then it's pretty much a birdie. So that's why it wasn't until they got to the final hole, hole 7, where you even saw like Drew.
Yeah, that was chaos.
Drew played differently. It wasn't like they were throwing the same shot and was like, okay, first one not to execute. Like Drew threw a completely different shot. And that's where, to me, that will be so much. 18 is another perfect example of a good course, because you can throw a 270-foot shot and then have a much longer approach in, or you can go aggressive and throw a 400-foot hyzer and have a shorter approach in. I think watching that as a fan,
it presents a lot of opportunity for gamesmanship too, right? But who's throwing first?
Yes.
And then where you throw your second shot, you get to dictate if you're throwing first again or
so
not.
That's where it's like I understand courses trying to change, because I'm sure courses are looking at certain things like that. But yeah,
I just would love to see that be like a goal that you set out with the idea of this course not changing. You know,
maybe you make it
cool.
Make it like a Hall of Fame course.
Yeah,
to where like when you enter the Hall of Fame, or I don't know, at some point in it you set your line of like, this is the Paul Macbeth line is a 51, and then the Ken Climo line was a 53, and then like someone down the road is like, oh my gosh, they shot a 48. The Paul Macbeth line's been broken.
It's definitely a cool thing to.
Maybe if it wasn't like a tournament, but it was like just a
course
records
thing in the
sport.
Yeah, I think course records. I mean, you can't have a course record if the course is constantly changing.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, I think if it changes a little bit, then I think you could still probably do it. Like if the baskets move a little bit here and there. But the problem is like it's not like golf where the pins are always moving, where it's like the basket moves and like it's there every round, so you're playing it the same way every round.
Yeah, and as long as the pins, I mean, I feel like even if there's small amounts of changes, like pins moving and stuff, if the changes aren't, you know,
drastic,
I think the course records do still mean something, because you always have weather and whatever, but like still like when a whole bunch of time goes by, like if golf hadn't changed the amount that it has, like if guys were still having to use like persimmon woods and stuff, I think that whatever the best round ever shot at Augusta, I mean, that's still a meaningful number, whatever that is.
Yeah.
I think
it comes in eras. It comes in eras for sure. But that's a good thought.
I think it would mean even more. But I think WR Jackson is probably the perfect place for it, because the PDG has control over that as a venue.
Well, somewhat. I mean, it just went through a major change back 2 years ago when they logged the actual course there. Right, Wildwood Park logged like half it in like 3 or 4 holes, got completely redesigned. So I think they rotate
those 3 or
which
4
ones
holes
they
are
log.
ugly on camera too.
Well, I think they should be better this year, because the year they played it was the same year I got to play it for Nationals, I believe. Or maybe I played it right after, and it was basically like freshly logged. So you're basically playing on like just ground up tree bark and stumps and stuff. No, it hadn't had time to like mature and the vegetation come back yet.
Are you playing Champions Cup, Brody?
Yes, I will be there.
Right on. I'm hoping to see you there too. I'm actually one of the few qualifyees.
Heck yeah! Congratulations, man. I will see you there.
All right. Thanks for the chat.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.
See ya. Yeah, I just actually signed up for that one.
Nice.
Right, Andrew's been raising his hand a lot, so we're gonna go. Raise your hand if you've got something that you disagree or have something that you want to speak your mind on. That's easy for us to pinpoint you and put you up here. Andrew, you are on, ready to go. Just need to unmute. There you go. What you got?
Awesome. All right, guys. So a while ago, you had mentioned that a course and a tournament needs to prove itself in order to be added to the Pro Tour. So I'm going to disagree with that, and I'm going to throw out some numbers to kind of try to prove that to you. So if we look at the Olympic bid process, and I'm just going to look at the infrastructure build cost and then the economic impact. So looking at the LA bid, it was they estimate 11.2 billion in economic impact and 3 billion in infrastructure build. So let's take 3 digits off of that, and let's say 11.2 versus 3 million. so we keep talking about Eagles Crossing being this incredible course, and it was $1.5 million to build that course. So in order to kind of build a championship level best course in the world, it only costs $1.5 million. So theoretically, a tournament should only need $6 million in economic impact in order to like it be worth building the best course in the world. And then with Olympic villages, a lot of times they turn into ghost towns afterwards versus a disc golf course. You continue to gain revenue off of that course.
Yep.
So Ledgestone always releases their economic impact for that tournament. Last year, Ledgestone's economic impact was just over $2 million. So I don't think we're that far off. Maybe 2-3 years out from the bid process to where maybe somebody comes in with a bid with a plan of saying, hey, I'm going to bring in either John Houck or Eric McCabe or can't think of his name from Gateway, but like that's part of the bid process. And they're saying, hey, we've got this plot of land. We'll put $2 million into a course if you bring Worlds in 2025.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't see as long as everything is met as far as, parking, amenities, all that type of thing, that the Disc Golf Pro Tour and the PDGA or whoever's running the thing, as long as all that stuff is met, I don't see how they wouldn't do that. But I know there still is probably the tricky thing is like I think they kind of did that a little bit at this last year Worlds at Utah, of where things were not ready, but they were like, oh, we'll get it ready.
Yeah.
We'll make it ready. And
it didn't fully happen.
I don't think it fully happened. So that's the only thing of where it could be kind of iffy is, you say, okay, sure, you guys are getting the bid for Worlds in 2025. What happens if they don't
get it up to snuff?
Get it done?
Yeah.
Because when I went to Brazil, the Olympics in Brazil, like there was a lot of issues there with just housing, and there was a lot of things that weren't complete and stuff like that. So I don't know how that always works out when someone accepts a bid and then they can't actually.
Well, I think part of it though is like the prestige of hosting Worlds, like part of it, because like right now I think you get the bid 2 years in advance. So you could argue that in your case of putting $2 million into a course, that 2 years might not quite be enough to get a course from we have a plot of land we hope to have a disc golf course on to fully built, ready for a world championship. 2 years, because you mow down trees and get stuff pulled out and stuff like that. You need time for grass and stuff to grow in and become mature to where it looks presentable, but you also need the course to be played some to where you can, like, the design might seem great, but you need to be played some to where, hey, this limb actually is going to make the hole way better if that limb does come down, or stuff like that, versus if it's 2 years might not quite be enough time if we're talking a $2 million course. But the side thing too is like with the Olympics, it's your country's pride on the line to a certain extent of like, if you roll into Brazil, the Olympics is
the opening ceremony is a big thing about showing your culture,
everyone,
country,
and
all that
everyone's
stuff.
watching it from all over the world. And so if the Brazil Olympics sucked, or when LA has it, if the LA Olympics sucks, the country that's hosting it, the USA or Brazil, or
it's a bad look. It's
an awful look on the country. And so when you're building it out, you have country pride to make sure that X, Y, and Z gets done. And I think that was kind of where this year was a little bit of a first look of like, things have to be held to, I don't know what the right answer would be to the standard, but like when Worlds comes in right now, it almost feels like it should be looked at as like PDGA needs to be held to that standard. But if like the course is going to have Worlds, then they need enough time to make sure that like when players roll up, if it's the way you're talking about of a companies or whoever's bidding, hey, we're going to put $2 million into this course, an additional X amount into added cash, and we know the economic impact, blah, 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 then it's going to be looked at as like when you roll up, you expect everything to be pristine and not a like blade of grass out of place type thing. And if not, it's going to be like a bad look on Eagles Crossing or wherever of like, hey, you had $2 million you put into this course. Where is it? So I think it's just a little bit of a different mindset from Olympics to Worlds. And I think that where we were coming from is more so like you in disc golf, we haven't had it proven quite yet, of like you can have a pro tour just be like the first time a course is played, just like roll up and it's a pro tour stop. Like that's terrifying to me versus courses that are tried and true. And like a pro is got, this course is perfect for challenging the top of the game. They've played here before with A tiers and silver series. And now we know it's good. It's time to roll it into a pro tour.
So, all right.
Yep. So real quick, to answer your question about what if the course isn't ready. So historically, the PDGA has always had a standing alternate. I know Lemon Lake was a standing alternate for many years. I don't know if it's the, down in Georgia,
interesting.
If that is currently the standing alternate, but they do have contingencies in place. But
that's interesting. Okay, sweet.
So maybe it's just the standards that need to be met. Maybe need to be a little bit more clearly defined of like
I think so.
Tee pads, fairways, course drainage, baskets. Maybe it's like that type of thing needs to be like clearly laid out of like if these exact bullet points aren't met, the contingency plan is this. Yeah. And they need to be met by a month advance of the event or something like that, and then we're pulling it. Maybe that's more what it needs to be. Is like there's a contingency plan of like strict rules that if the course doesn't meet all of these...
Like painting OB lines not the day before the tournament.
Yeah, if the course doesn't meet all of these, we're pulling it. Maybe that's what it needs to be.
Sweet.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you, man. Have a great night. All right, we're going to bring in Will. He's been raising us. We're going to get Will, and then I think Little Light is next, and then we'll see where we're at from there.
Nice.
All right, Will, you're live. What is good?
What's up, guys?
How's it going?
Chilling. Good. I had a quick question on a little bit about the future. I know with guys like Ganon kind of blowing up, I'm sure there's a lot of other young talent. And with that, they're all going to want to be signed up. So where do you see contracts with new and budding stars in the sport going?
I think that it's going to be like, I think it's an interesting dynamic between the players and the companies, because what you don't want as a player is to get into like a Scottie Pippen deal where you sign a long-term contract and then by the end of that contract or in the middle of the contract you're worth way more than you were at the beginning, but you're in a long-term deal. And that's especially true for a young player because with Scottie Pippen, Michael signed a shorter-term deal, and then when his deal was up, he was able to sign an unheard-of deal.
Yes and no,
Scottie Pippen signed. But if you're a 16-year-old...
Yes and no, though,
you don't want to sign a 10-year deal.
You do, though.
Unless you're not willing to bet on yourself.
That's the whole point. Like, some people... Now, obviously, younger people if you look at it, are probably going to be more likely to bet on themselves and risk it a little bit more, where, like, an older person is more likely to be like, yeah, I'll take the 5-year deal when they're 28.
Sure, that makes perfect sense.
To get a little bit more whatever. But yeah, I agree with you with like I probably wouldn't do like a 10-year deal if I'm like Gannon Burr, right? Because it's like you're probably not going to get what you're worth
when you're 24
if you continue to go on this thing. But then again, like companies, again, disc golf is getting to the point of where you could potentially have someone pop off and have a really good week and win a tournament or get a top 3 or whatever it may be, and then we might not see them again the rest of the season. And so that's it's kind of risky.
Yeah.
Of paying someone a credible amount of money. I think again it comes back to companies looking at players to be like, can we market this person? Or are we 100% relying on this person to market us? Mm-hmm. I think that's what it boils down to.
But I think when it comes to young talent, I think that's kind of the next wave, because what's going to end up happening is there's eventually going to be like you're not on the pro tour unless you have a tour card.
Yep.
And so young talent isn't going to be on the pro tour. And so they'll be looking through and basically sifting through A-tier results and Silver Series results and trying to find that next person to get just like grassroots in.
Try to get them early.
Of like, yeah, like, hey, we can pick this kid up at 16. I guarantee, like, we just build a relationship with them. 18, they'll be ready to hop on the pro tour, and we'll already have our grassroots. We sign them to the deal right then and there, and they might win us a tournament or two, or at least be a top player as 18. I think that's kind of the next step is like, if you're a very young talent,
scouting talent.
If you're a young talent on the Silver Series, you're going to be worth way more than someone who's 28, 29 trying to break onto the Pro Tour. Because if you're 18 trying to break on, the company can simply look at longevity of like, you're about to make it as an 18-year-old. We're guaranteeing probably at least 15 years of you having a touring career, or at least the potential of it, versus like a 29, 30-year-old trying to break onto the tour. We got max 10 years or something like that, where there's just a lot of different, and 10 years of like you slowly going downhill. So if you barely make it when you're 35 or 36 onto like a tour card, that might be your best year. And in the future, like if you're just getting your tour card, then a company's probably a lot less likely to shell out versus an 18-year-old just getting their tour card. So I think that's kind of the next step.
It sounds like I should give up on my dream of becoming a pro then.
Maybe not. I don't know. How old are you?
28.
28. I mean, there's still time. Because the thing with disc golf is we don't know the longevity. So, like, I could look like an idiot when someone wins a world championship at 50.
I'll say this too, Will, is I'm not, I can't say I'm incredibly confident, but I'm hopefully confident that making it on the Pro Tour, for example, is enough for people to pay the bills. It's not there yet. I don't think it's going to get there next year, but we are getting closer, and I'm hopefully confident that it sounds like right now, and this is what you're probably going through, of where it's like, I need to get sponsored. Like, I have to get sponsored to make a living, because just what you're going to be making from purses and stuff is not enough. But I'm hopeful that, you make it on Pro Tour and you get like a top 30, top 20, something like that. You're making hopefully a considerable amount of money, to where you can, if you're good enough just to get on the Pro Tour, you don't necessarily have to have a big sponsorship deal to still make a decent living. Because unfortunately, that's where we are right now, where, everyone that's making a decent living has a good sponsorship deal. But hopefully, that's why I would say don't lose hope on the dream just yet, because, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, if you're popping off, you probably aren't going to be as, like Hunter was saying, you probably aren't going to be as appealing to sponsors to sign if you're popping off with a 20-year-old, 22-year-old, right? Because again, it's the whole longevity thing. But you could be potentially living your dream of playing disc golf for a living and paying the bills. So I wouldn't give up on it just yet.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Take it easy, man. All right, is this Little Light? Little Light. Does he have an Albert Einstein as his? This might be good. It looks like he has an Albert Einstein Twitter banner. Is that Albert Einstein?
That is Jerry Garcia.
Okay. I don't.
Albert Einstein.
I've heard that name, but I don't know who that is.
The Grateful Dead, man. That's rough. But I just have a quick question. I hate to harp on what you guys started with, but I'm curious, Brody, from your perspective as a player, and maybe if you've heard this from other players, and I know you mentioned not wanting people to get thrown out of tournaments, but is there any desire from the players to see some more professionalism brought into the game in terms of like where spectators are allowed to be during tournaments and things like that? The example I always give when I bring this topic up is the guy in the American flag shorts jumping into the water after James won Worlds. Like, is there any belief that some of that is like a little too ridiculous? Like, that's nothing. You would never see something like that when someone wins the Masters, for example.
Well, Masters a little bit. I would say Masters is a little bit of a different example. I do think I have seen golf tournaments where fans are jumping into water at the end of it. Like, I visually have that image in my head. I mean, you also can look at, crowds storming the field, football, basketball, right, on an upset.
You don't really see that in the pros, though.
No, you don't see it as often in the pros.
It's a security thing.
It's a security thing for sure.
Because I found out recently that even colleges, if it happens too often, will get fined.
Correct.
Like Arkansas was about to get fined like $200 and some $1,000 when that.
Well, they did the field goal post too. If you go on the field goal post, I think you get a nice little night in jail. No, I do think there are majority of the pros do want the professionalism, and I think we are seeing that now of where like this past tournament was incredible as far as them lining, because it doesn't really take that much. Mm-hmm. It's literally a couple stakes in the ground, and then you just run a string from stake to stake. It's really not that much to create this kind of like path of this is where you are, this is where the players are, and they had that. And so there was never a time where it's like this spectator's in my way, or I'm having to cross through spectators or anything like that. So I think they are moving in that direction as far as like location wise. It's going to be interesting to see what they do at Waco, because now we're in the woods. Golf courses set up way better for viewing.
From what I understand, Waco only VIPs
can go past
in
hole
the woods.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Maple Hill did. Like something similar, like certain holes, like VIP people were only allowed to go. And I thought that was the only tournament I attended, but I thought that was like the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it just seems like spectators are way too close to the players.
Yes.
Yeah, way too close. Especially like other tournaments. I don't think this is common now, but people bringing children or dogs barking, things like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of, the children thing, I don't think that will ever be like, I don't think they'll deny
that's
people.
A tough one.
Dogs for sure. I think that's harder because, again, like we talked about, a lot of tournaments are in parks, and it's not like the tournament at the time was like shutting down the park. So if you're just like, hey, I'm going to the park to walk around, no one's stopping you, where now you're seeing the Disc Golf Pro Tour doesn't really want to go to venues where they can't actually have control. And so, again, we were spoiled with a golf course because a golf course is set up very nicely for the Disc Golf Pro Tour to come in and run an event. I'm very interested to see how Waco does, to see how Texas State does, to go to some of these more park-style courses, I would say, because Waco's just at a park. There's trails right next to some of the holes. There's sidewalks literally right next to some of the holes of where we've at times walked from hole to hole, and like someone's just biking down the path. So very interested to see how that goes. But from what I saw at Las Vegas Challenge, I'm very very happy.
Cool.
Sweet.
Thank you guys for the opportunity. Educate yourselves a little bit on the Grateful Dead.
I know they're a band. I know they're a band.
I'm reading a book by a guy
I know they're a band.
Who authored a book called like Marketing Secrets of the Grateful Dead, on like how they led the way.
Huge. Now I think about it, they were like a huge.
They led the way back in the day.
I wouldn't say cult following, but
it's somewhat of a cult following. But the way they created it way back in the day it was a time where like you couldn't record at shows and stuff like that, and the Grateful Dead welcomed it so that people could share it online or share it via way back in the day of like tape recordings and stuff like that.
I have 150 tape from my father.
There you go.
That
was what created this following.
That's exactly it.
I'm reading a book. I'm reading a book right now by a guy that wrote it. He overlaps a lot into this book, so it's fascinating stuff.
That's awesome.
All right, thanks for calling in, man. Take it easy. All right, we'll do one more. Aaron, he's been sticking around with us for a second. Sorry if we were not able to get to everyone tonight. We'll do the call-in thing next week.
Yes.
So, real quick, Aaron, before you jump on, if you are listening live, if you're listening to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or if you are listening to us right now via Twitter Spaces, we will tweet out a link. Or you can go.
It's fdnsports.com, and you just go to the debate night tab.
fdnsports.com, debate night.
We got a bunch queued up for next week of topics that people have called in. But
you can basically just leave a voice message for us that we'll play on air. So if we didn't get you tonight, sorry, but you can do that. fdnsports.com/debate night, I believe is what it is. All right, Aaron, you're on. Finish us off. What do you got?
Hey, I just wanted to see what you guys thought about the 10-year, $2 million deal with the MVP Open. I think they're selling themselves short. What do you guys think?
What was it?
So the MVP just paid $2 million in a 10-year contract to the Maple Hill Open, the MVP Open, as the presenting sponsor. It was announced today.
They paid who?
Steve Dodge and Maple Hill.
Oh, okay. They paid the
tournament,
the event.
Gotcha. What I'm curious of, and I watched most of the video. I had to cut it off halfway in because we're about to go film. So they might have answered this question later in the video. That's why we didn't talk about it yet. We'll probably bring it up on Grip Locked. But I'm curious what that money is specifically going to. Like, are we talking there's going to be $200,000 added cash from MVP at the MVP Open every year? Or what it sounded like when Steve Dodge was talking, which there's nothing wrong with this, was a lot of it's going into like infrastructure of the event, of like more bleachers, more fan accommodations, more fan experience stuff, of like stuff that fans can do on the grounds and stuff like that. And locking yourself in for 10 years is one thing, because like it is a manufacturer sponsorship. So like there might be some other opportunities that could have been explored a few years down the road. But at the end of the day, I mean, it guarantees your security of like you get $200,000 a year for the next 10 years for this event. And like, who knows what that could lead to? Yeah. So who knows?
It's a big event.
Who knows what that could lead to? And Steve Dodge, up to this point, has seemed to be a man who has ideas that are 5 years ahead of his time. And with the Pro Tour, that seemed to bite him in the butt a little bit, because he would do something that the disc golf world wasn't ready for. And so I think that he's someone who we can continue to look towards as he like takes steps and does stuff that seems like, what on earth are we doing? And a lot of times it's in a good way of like, I don't know about that. Like, are we ready for that? But then 5 years from now, the rest of the sport is. And so I'm excited seeing that. So one of the pioneers in our sport, essentially, first thought is, let's get the fan experience so we can get more fans here, build out spots for them to be, kind of like a build it and they will come type atmosphere. So I'm curious to see what it looks like, though, this year.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you really do need people. If you want to have an incredible fan number, spectator number, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want 25,000 people, 20,000 people, whatever, at an event, you need people to travel.
Yeah.
It's going to be very hard to pull 20,000 people from a small area, or not a small area, but from any area. So you need people to fly in. You need people to drive in. So if they're going that mindset of like, you know what, we're going to make, because it already is like a big, obviously, disc golf spot of like people travel there already to play. So if they go above and beyond to make it like this is the premier event, if you're going to go to, if you can only go to one disc golf event every year, you want to make sure you go to this one. If it works out and all of a sudden you start seeing 15, 10, 12, 13,000 people showing up at this event, I mean, money well spent.
Yeah, he said he was planning on doubling the spectators over the next few years, but it just seems like 10 years, the disc golf scene could be a lot different.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the nature of long contracts. Is
you're betting on
each
person is betting on something, right?
Yeah, you get financial security, but MVP's betting that 10 years from now that's
going to
be
way more expensive.
And Maple Hill's basically betting like, hey, we're happy to have the security for 10 years to know we get this much money. So, and I'd be curious too of like if Nike or someone who's not a direct competitor of MVP came in and wanted to pay $1 million for 1 year. Would it be like a dual sponsorship? Was like that in the contract of like MVP is it and it's $200,000 a year and no one can touch it? Or is it like I'm just trying to find another brand, Adidas. Wow, Nike and Adidas, Real Original Hunter. Adidas comes in and they pay $1 million and now it's the MVP Open presented by Adidas. Is it something where that can happen? Yeah. I don't know.
Good thought. All right, thanks for calling in, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, if you're listening on Twitter Spaces, we're going to bounce back over to YouTube, wrap the debate night on. Again, thank you guys for joining Twitter Spaces. We go live every Tuesday on YouTube, on Foundation Podcast YouTube channel. So check us out. If you aren't, we're going to head over there now.
Boom.
Okay. Hey, it's getting better, Silas.
Yeah,
Twitter Spaces?
It is,
Come on, man.
There's a lot of people in the comments saying we need debates.
I did like that the first guy that called in just immediately was like, look,
yeah.
I don't really like
I love it.
He's like, I don't really like what a lot of what you guys say, but I listen.
Before it was like 100% questions. Now we're like getting sprinkles.
You're right.
So
and pretty soon it's just going to be like someone comes on and just curses us out.
Well, I think that's why I think the voicemails, I like them the most, mainly because we can like vet and like if someone's just like, hey, what's your guys' favorite disc to throw? It's like, okay, we're not going to answer that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like a Heiser Club question. But we can answer, or sorry, we can have someone call in and be like, hey, this is where I disagree on you. The only thing I don't like about that is like
they can't defend themselves.
They can't defend like
Yeah.
the counterpoint. Where in Twitter Spaces you can, but it is going to be very difficult.
You can't vet it.
You can't screen it.
It's going to be very difficult for us to also just have what we talked about. Like if people don't like what we say, they don't like, they're not going to watch. So it's hard to like actually have those people. I'm hoping like, again, I'm just crossing my fingers that eventually like someone reaches out and is like, hey, I want to come on and debate against you guys. And it's like, heck yeah, put us in our place, please. But it hasn't happened yet. So overall, solid show. We're back in the studio. I'm gone though next week. I'll be in Texas. So we'll be doing a little, what do we call it? Skype in, Zoom in.
When are you back in studio next?
Oh, Silas. You
be a
really
minute?
want to know, Silas?
I don't
I'm
know.
gonna guess.
I'm sure the people are curious.
Beginning of May.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Nailed it.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, he said 6 weeks earlier, so I just did some basic math.
Yeah. March, April, literally every tournament. Waco, Belton,
Wow.
Texas States, Music City Open.
What's funny is like when you're at Belton, we'll be in Dallas.
Yeah.
We'll be an hour away,
Heck yeah.
Ah.
but we're gonna be doing
Oh,
bogey bro battles.
I can't
Yeah.
wait for those battles in Dallas.
We're gonna be doing bogey bro battles in Dallas, and then we're gonna drive over to the Texas State courses the week before the Pro Tour comes, so that we can play the Texas State courses.
Are you guys going to do any, do you have any early predictions on what you're going to shoot at Dogwood?
No, because I heard y'all haven't even played the course that y'all are playing.
What are you talking about?
It's a safari course.
What are you talking about?
I got an email from.
Wait, what are you talking about?
I got an email from.
They're doing the safari layout. They're not just having us play Dogwood.
Mm-mm. They said Dogwood wasn't challenging enough.
Boy.
What do you mean it wasn't challenging enough?
I got an email and they told me to make sure I played the right course because it wasn't. Was it Lindsay Park?
Yeah, they have two. So they have Lindsay
They
Park.
have 3 courses.
Incredible.
This is the combination of all 3.
So they're just going to add in some length courses. That's all it is, because the other 2 courses are open.
I can read you the layout in a second.
Dogwood is hard because it's in the woods and it's some very difficult shots. The other 2 courses are out in the open, like out in the actual park.
Let me find this thing.
Yeah, so you're
Wild.
throwing big air shots and stuff. It might be more difficult as far as like some of the holes might be harder to birdie, but unless they litter it with OB, there isn't like natural OB there. There's not lakes or roads or sidewalks that they can like.
So it's like 3 different courses, but
Yeah.
they're playing.
It's a huge park. It's a
Yeah.
huge park complex, and they have 2 big courses that are kind of up and out by the fields kind of thing. And then Dogwood, you walk down and you have the plaque that says like this is for experienced golfers only.
Oh, nice.
And then you go. The first shot's like a big Heiser shot, and then after that, you're in the woods the whole way.
I gotta find.
There's a couple holes that are like kind of half wooded, half open. But all in all, it's just like a
How
full
did I
wood
see?
shot.
I saw the layout earlier.
To be fair, though, it will be better for spectators. Like that will be better for coverage, having like half and half, because otherwise,
Here it is.
it's like,
Safari combo. Limited access, intended for top level professionals.
Where'd you find this? UDisc?
Someone sent me a link to it. It's on UDisc, but they sent me a link to it. So I don't know if you can just go find it. So it's Cedar 9 is hole 1. Then Cedar 10 to Cedar 2, Cedar 1 to Cedar 3, Cedar 4 to Cedar 5, Dogwood 16, Dogwood 17, Dogwood 2, Dogwood 3, Cedar 15 to Cedar 17.
Literally Safari combo, it pops up. That's incredible.
Hickory 1 to Hickory
So
10.
it's a par 66,
10,000
feet. So they just
The hot round is a 69 in the last 30 days.
hot
round is 67 all time.
I might like this. The first hole is
hot round.
The first hole is the pyramid hole.
There you go.
That's a great hole. It literally did you watch Skins at Eagle Crossing?
Yeah.
So you know the pyramid hole that they have there, where it's massive.
Yeah.
That's literally this.
Oh,
so you're
nice.
gonna have some people putting from like 20 feet. Like
This is the hot round of all time is a 67,
by who?
which is 1 over par.
Let me see if I know these.
Mike
wow.
Eisen. Eisen Mike.
I know Muffin.
Muffin's at 267.
Muffin's a ultimate frisbee over to disc golf guy. I'm gonna look at this now because this is. I'm gonna text my Easy 3 boys.
Yeah, so that's the course we're playing when we go. We're gonna make sure we play as much as we can. It looks like it's just like this hole to this basket, so it doesn't look like it's gonna be too hard to do. But yeah, thanks. Appreciate
Wow, that just completely flipped me upside down.
I appreciate you reaching
Hunter.
out, the person who reached out.
That just flipped me upside down. Now,
because we were just gonna play Dogwood, and then we were gonna probably be like ticked off when we released the video, and they were like, "Oh, that's not the course they're playing."
that would have really been bad.
It would have been all the way to Texas. But now we have the right course.
Gosh, your arms.
They're gonna
Can
hurt.
you guys handle 10,000? How
far is New London? It's gotta be.
Is it 10,000 plus?
Surely.
Well, yeah, they have like those two. Well,
gotta
they have 2 par 5s that are over
I was
1,000.
gonna say hole 6.
I mean, they have 2 par 5s that are, those 2 holes are like probably 2,200 feet between just those 2 holes. So
Yeah.
Let's see here. New London Tech.
Oof.
Maine's 11,585.
Boom.
So yeah, we can handle
So
it.
you're fine.
We can handle it.
You shot the course record at New London. You're fine.
We can handle it. Yeah, you know how many times I've played New London, and I played it 14 times in one day.
You know what? You know what I want to do actually? Do you think it's possible for you to birdie hole 6 with unlimited mulligans?
At New London?
Yeah.
Possible.
Like if we just stood there and like retrieved discs that
like
you needed.
truly unlimited mulligan. So like
Yes.
I'm just physically capable.
We're seeing literally all that the test is to see how long it would take you.
Yeah, dude, you could do it. Just throw down a roller.
I don't know that I could.
Just throw down a roller.
It's not that simple, Silas.
But out of
Because
like
I mean,
one
I would have
out
to
of
my,
100
the second
times, there's
shot.
got to be a good one in there.
It's the second shot. The second shot
Yeah.
has to get so far.
Yeah. Because I was just thinking.
I don't know if I'm physically capable.
I birdied it yesterday when I played it, and I threw like the first shot is just kind of like a standard whatever Raptor, and then I threw like a 450-foot straight vulture,
Yeah.
and then from there I threw like
have
a
to
spike,
still go-
like a Spike Heiser, like probably 500-foot, 450 distance, like power nuke, spiked it in.
Yeah.
So it's like. I'm just wondering though. It's like if you get really
That's a great
aggressive,
challenge.
if you get really aggressive off the tee,
I'd
you
have
get
to go
far up there.
Hunter,
That's
I
what would have
believe
to
in you,
happen.
man.
I'd
I
have to
believe you.
get.
I
I'd
just
have
think
to
that
get a
would be
lot farther off the tee. I don't know. I'm not confident in that challenge. I'm willing to do it.
How many do you think it would take you?
That would be a great challenge between you
It
and
would pro-
Trevor.
I would
To
do it before
see
Trevor.
who
I would do it
could
before
do it
Trevor.
before.
100%.
You
before
think
Trevor.
so?
I know so. Yeah.
Oh,
Trevor's been throwing far.
I know I would do it before Trevor.
That's the challenge. Then.
that's the challenge.
We just have you
There we
come
go.
out. We have you go out, and we just start the clock, and then we see how long it takes you to finish, and we'll do our best to like retrieve discs.
Well, you're going to be gone. Unless we do it this week.
Are you doing this without me? We
Oh.
might have to do this this week. I might have. I want to be here. I want to see it.
Dang.
Like
But
this
that's
is
going to take all. I
The
legit.
people want to see it, man.
I might be out there all day. It's something where like I could, if I'm capable of even doing it, I could get it in like an hour. But I also could be out there sunrise to sunset.
That's. I mean, you still could be out there trying that skip shot, trick shot.
I would have been if y'all let me.
Who knows? So, all right, you guys might see that on YouTube soon. Gosh,
Is that? It's got to be. We could probably title that. Can Hunter birdie
the hardest hole?
the hardest hole in disc golf?
Yeah,
What's a harder hole?
there isn't one.
All right, we have Brody's word. Can Hunter birdie the hardest hole in disc golf?
It's a very hard hole. So, all right, that's going to do it. Thank you guys for tuning in, watching live. We appreciate all you. Thank you for listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Drop us a review. Like this video if you're enjoying the podcast. Leave us a comment down below, and make sure you subscribe. Foundation Podcast. We're trying to hit. I think we're going to do a big giveaway at 21,000. I love the number 21. So big giveaway. So if
We
you're
should
listening,
do a big giveaway on our. Did I just hear something?
yeah, we're about to hit 70 on our main.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
Where
fell.
was that?
I don't know.
It was-
Out there?
It was right by Silas.
Oh,
What the heck?
Or someone is in our store stealing all of our.
And that's
discs.
what I was wondering. Okay, we're 51
Probably need
subscribers
to
away.
start locking that door.
51 subscribers away from 70K.
Oh, so go if you're watching right now, go over to Foundation Disc Golf and subscribe. We're almost there.
Nope, someone just unsubscribed. We're
70K
52. We're 52
giveaway?
subscribers. We're 52 subscribers away.
Are we doing
So we'll do a giveaway over there first.
70K?
70K Foundation Disc Golf. Go over and
Boom.
subscribe. Thank you guys all so much. We appreciate the new time too because it's 8:30. This was a 2.5 hour show.
Look at me, I'm wide awake.
I'm going home and I'm doing the
Yeah.
12-3-30.
Oh shoot! Isn't that like a
what?
Do you know about the 12-3-30?
My
what's that?
Liz watches a bunch of girl influencers that do them.
Oh,
Wow.
girl
You
is
put
12
it's
12-3-30.
12 degree,
12 degree,
3 speed,
3 speed,
30 minutes on the
30
treadmill.
minutes on the treadmill.
Are you
Um,
like running or
No,
walking?
it's a 3
It's like
speed.
it's a
It's
pretty
walk.
much it's like you're basically
Oh,
hiking
3
up a hill.
speed.
You're
Okay.
hiking up a hill for
Why don't you
30
just go on a
minutes.
hike?
Because it's 8:30 at night, Silas.
I know, but
And
hey,
I want to hang out with Kelsey, so she's coming up. She's gonna do some like stretching and yoga, and we're gonna watch Love Is Blind. It's gonna be fantastic.
Oh, you haven't watched the
All
second
right.
season yet?
I've seen everything.
Oh, okay.
Kelsey hasn't.
Kelsey
I'm,
hasn't.
I'm
Just like The
rewatching for
Bachelorette.
Kelsey.
Dude,
No,
Shane.
how dare you?
No, Shane's facial expressions
Dare
are
you.
the funniest thing
Kelsey
on
thinks
earth.
he looks just like Greg Busby, or Greg Busby.
Busey.
Busey.
Barsby?
Do you know who I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm talking about?
The Busey name sounds
Busey.
familiar, but I feel like it's not
Busey,
Greg.
actor. This guy.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
Look at this. Look
yeah,
at this.
That's exactly.
That's yeah.
Dead on.
Yeah. As soon as she said that, I was like, oh man. All right. We'll see you guys later.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.